Feeling eye discomfort, Jiangdu decides to visit Dr. Zhao. Dr. Zhao looks puzzled, as if the patient came to the wrong department. Seeing Jiangdu's haggard look, he suspects drug use. Jiangdu explains his symptoms, saying his eyes often ache and feel tired. Sometimes red blood streaks appear in his eyes. When he looks around, everything is covered in dark red. Strangely, a status bar appears above every living being, like in a game. Dr. Zhao's bar shows 18%. When asked his age, Jiangdu blankly repeats the question. Dr. Zhao gets angry, thinking he came to the wrong clinic. From gaming experience, Jiangdu realizes the bar means HP and 18% means near death. The doctor asks about drinking while scratching his arm. Jiangdu is lost in thought, making the doctor irritated. He snaps out of it while the doctor sighs in frustration. Finally, the doctor checks his eyes with a flashlight. Jiangdu follows instructions, moving his eyes side to side. After the exam, the doctor finds nothing wrong and thinks he's delusional. He's kicked out and decides to test his eyes again. The hospital hallway glows red. Everyone has an HP bar above their head. He laughs, realizing conjunctivitis medicine is useless. He knows it's a special ability but doesn't know its purpose. Leaving the hospital, he sees a recruitment poster for the Tunye Tai organization. In 1999, they saved the city from disaster and built a shelter. The strange creatures were repelled, and humanity regained hope. Jiangdu doesn't care and just wants to go home. But first, he needs to tie his shoelaces. As he bends down, everything turns dark blue. The busy street becomes deserted and eerie. The sun turns a deadly blue, the world looks apocalyptic. A girl rushes past him, fighting a mutant. Many others are also battling fiercely. The bloody scene leaves Jiangdu stunned. As the sun fades, he starts to shiver. Drops of water fall from the gloomy sky. The rain pulls him back to reality. He stands on a crowded street as if nothing happened. The Tunye Tai organization keeps promoting safety, but Jiangdu starts doubting. He wonders if the city's safety is real or just a fabricated lie. A hand taps his shoulder. It's a street vendor with a white Muslim scarf. The man tries a pyramid scheme pitch, boasting 99% authentic Indian sorcerer medicine. Jiangdu chuckles, thinking if it's a real miracle drug, he might try it. The man opens his bag, showing bottles of potions. Jiangdu jokes about freebies, angering the man who calls him crazy and leaves. Jiangdu pulls him back, says he was joking, and buys a bottle of medicated oil. On the way home, he regrets paying 3,000 yuan for such a tiny bottle. Seeing the peaceful streets, he doubts his vision. How could the city collapse? The bus stops at the next station. The world shifts again to that same eerie blue. He rubs his eyes, and everything instantly returns to normal. Jiangdu thinks maybe he should see a psychologist tomorrow. His hand touches his chest, feels a sharp pain, and he plans to rub oil at home. His apartment is an old, dilapidated block. In the bathroom, his body begins to change strangely. He panics as a bizarre pattern appears on his chest. He recognizes the pattern as familiar. It's the book that fell on his head before. Unexpectedly, that book left a glowing tattoo on his chest. Pain hits him and he collapses to the floor. A blue-black aura surrounds his body, burning and freezing at once. He pours water over himself. The heat lessens somewhat. In the mirror, he sees his HP bar at 100%. That means he is still completely healthy. After showering, he prepares to leave the room. Suddenly, he notices he has no shadow. He jumps into every patch of light to find it. Finally, the shadow reappears on the wall. He breathes a sigh of relief after so many odd events. Losing a shadow isn't shocking. Sleepy from the shower, he opens the door to go out. A black silhouette suddenly appears and startles him. He tilts his head. It tilts back in the opposite direction. Looking down, he still can't see his own shadow. With a novelist's mind, he quickly figures out what's happening. He touches the pattern on his chest. Pain returns, but the silhouette stands still. Luckily, the shadow didn't disappear, but it now seems to have its own consciousness. That night, he must face his shadow. He orders it to raise its left hand, then tells it to kick its right leg. It copies perfectly. Jiangdu breaks into a mad smile. His grotesque expression even freezes the shadow. He commands it to perform a fan dance. The shadow immediately executes professional moves. He begins to get a headache. It's like having an extra black servant in the house. Suddenly, the chest tattoo flares brightly. It flies to the ceiling, spins, then stops at the information section. The shadow's attributes appear. Jiangdu eagerly taps to view details. The shadow holds all Jiangdu's memories and strength, but cannot think independently. He glances and sees it still enthusiastically fan-dancing, truly empty-headed. Its form is like a disembodied spirit, giving him a chill. Jiangdu asks it to hold a pen and solve a calculus problem. It writes a few strokes, then stops. Seeing the messy problem, he angrily tries to smash it with the book, but misses because it's intangible. He curses, all memory but dumber than I was in 10th grade. Thinking the problem might be too hard, he orders it to copy the Mad Merchant code draft as a test. The shadow writes like a machine, pleasing him. He plans to open a copying workshop. He imagines an assembly line and huge profits. He reopens the skill panel, curious, and selects another ability. Shadow Devour absorbs shadow points to increase power or disintegrate dead creatures. He mutters, "Devour in the dark, but how do you execute it?" Curious, he presses his hand to the dark patch on the wall to test. Nothing happens. He feels annoyed. He complains that the system has no manual like a proper game. He switches to another skill called Shadow Eye. It lets him see the dark side of the world and choose to observe or enter it. Jiangdu realizes it's the same hallucination from earlier, but still doesn't know its use. He orders the shadow to do some push-ups. It nods, then sinks into the floor and disappears. Has stunned, thinking it would exercise, not dive underground. He shouts for it to return and serve him. A black hole opens in the room, and the shadow climbs back out. He asks where it went. It writes on paper that it went to the dark side. He asks why. It replies that it really went to do push-ups. Jiangdu guesses training in the dark side might boost efficiency. He allows it to continue practicing there. Sighing after a chaotic day, Jiangdu returns to his desk to meet deadlines. The next morning, Jiangdu is still asleep at the desk, lost in a pleasant dream. He mutters for a pen to keep drawing his dream story. Waking up, he stretches wearily, back and waist aching from bad posture. He tells himself he'll die young if this keeps up. A familiar voice calls, urging him to open the door. It's his childhood friend Lu Diu visiting early in the morning. Jiangdu looks at her, surprised her HP bar shows only 93%. He soon realizes it's because of a girl's period. Diu enters, eyes glued to her phone. She's a fan of hot-blooded Jiangdu's comic. Last night she saw his live stream promising a new chapter, so she came early to check progress. A loud noise startles her and she screams. She scolds him, thinking he slammed the door to hide his draft. The door cracks, and Jiangdu can't understand why he's suddenly so strong. Diu frowns, noticing something strange about his body. Completely opposite from his frail appearance before. Now he's muscular and well-built. She suspects he's been working out, but then realizes a guy glued to drawing couldn't possibly train like that. Diu suspects he encountered something supernatural. Jiangdu denies it, claiming he's just been exercising, though his shadow trained for him. She doesn't believe and lifts his shirt to check. His clear 8-pack abs leave her speechless. Even so, she stays cautious, recalling cases his father once handled involving anomalies. He stays silent, not bothering to argue. Suddenly, Diu grabs his hand, startling him into thinking shell attack. But instead of a gun, she pulls out a wrist device and straps it on him. It's a detector measuring anomalous energy pollution. Those who contact or absorb anomalies produce resentment energy, tainting their bodies. If not purified in time, they mutate and become aberrants. Jiangdu smiles confidently. His power came from a book, not cursed energy. Yet his body begins to react strangely. Behind him, Diu quietly draws her gun, ready to act if anything goes wrong. Jiangdu grits his teeth, staying calm to suppress the energy inside and avoid detection. Finally, the watch readings stabilize and Diu relaxes. Jiangdu smiles lightly, teasing her, already planning to shoot your old teacher. Lu Diu's father had told her always to carry a gun for safety. Jiangdu quickly changes the topic, showing off new character sketches and asking if she wants to see them. She brightens up immediately, her expression completely different from before. After showing the drawings and seeing her off, Jiangdu collapses onto the bed in relief. He opens the system log and finds multiple reports about the shadow's activities. Has shocked to learn it trained all night, causing his body to change in one night. Now Jiangdu focuses on channeling energy and emotion into his body. A dark energy mass forms around him. He manipulates it with his hands, shaping it into a humanoid shadow. He's pleased with the training result, but realizes push-ups alone aren't enough. The shadow clenches its fists, determined to keep training. Jiang excitedly shouts to begin advanced exercises, starting with push-ups using only index fingers. Next are boxing moves called punch and human frag. He keeps raising difficulty, making it perform combos like pistol squad. Then harder ones named let go and dragon flex. Meanwhile, Zhao listens secretly from outside. After hearing everything, she sighs in relief, thinking it's really just exercise. Reassured, she begins planning her next mission. Time passes. He recalls the pandemic day, January 20th, 1999, when he first gained the shadow. The shadow's overnight training strengthened him, making him feel he must improve further. On January 21st, he increased its training and saw faster results. He wonders if he can now beat some people, yet keeps training diligently. One day, a man named Uncle Lee visits, reminding him to control his power around others. On January 23rd, he reminds himself to work hard instead of slacking off. On January 24th, the shadow continues a routine called Mingnan Shangfu. On January 25th, training goes on, yielding only small benefits. On January 26th, progress shows. The shadow does 10 push-ups, and he gains the benefit. Days later, he frowns at the slow shadow point gain only 8 points. Checking the stats, he learns 10 points are needed to unlock Shadow Guard and Shadow Eye. Zhang closes his eyes, realizing at this rate he'll never reach 10 points soon. A daring thought strikes him. If he enters the dark side, maybe it'll be faster. He begins activating the ability, diving deeper into the darkness. With eyes shut, Zhang channels his entire consciousness to shift over. In an instant, his body completely vanishes from the real world. He feels like swimming in a thick, hazy void. When he opens his eyes, Zhang looks around in awe. The surroundings look exactly like his room, only darker and gloomier. He steps onto the cold gray floor. Everything is silent and gloomy, freezing him in place for a moment. After finding an exit, Zhang rejoices, thinking he's escaped. But then he stops and reconsiders the situation. No matter how far he walks, he can't leave the apartment complex. He scratches his head, concluding entry into the dark side must start from outside the real world. Observing closely, he sees this place perfectly mirrors reality. The only difference is the atmosphere heavier, darker, and colder. Suddenly, something rushes toward him at high speed. It targets him directly without hesitation. From its blurry outline, he briefly thinks it might be his shadow. Confidently, Zhang waves, thinking it's greeting him. But the figure roars horrifically. A gleaming scythe flashes before his eyes. Zhang freezes in shock and swears. Despite fear, he dodges the first strike in time. The apartment ghost glares at him with murderous eyes. It swings the scythe repeatedly. He dodges while cursing in panic. Cornered, he hastily activates his power. Shadow Eye open! He curls up like a frog and dives straight into the shadow beneath his feet. With all his strength, he swims upward toward safety. Minutes later, Zhang escapes and returns to his room. He drops onto the floor, rubbing his sore butt and panting hard. Still shaken, he wonders what that thing was doing at his building's entrance. He checks himself for injuries. Finding none, he smirks his training really paid off. He leans back proudly, relieved to have survived the fight. Then he grabs a chair, swearing vengeance on the ghost that blocked his way. On January 28th, he records his first battle with the apartment ghost total defeat. On January 29th, his second rematch also fails. His chest is swollen, ribs nearly cracked. On January 30th, 3 scratches tear his butt, but he manages to cut the enemy's HP by 6%, stubbornly pressing on. On January 31st, Zhang rests at home while Zhao carefully applies medicine to his wounds. Seeing the scars, she curiously asks if he's been fighting lately. Zhang brags that those scars are manly medals. Zhao sneers, pressing on the wound. Medals on your butt? He screams in agony. She scolds him sharply. So you do feel pain, acting arrogant the moment you feel strong. Zhang quickly changes the subject, reminding her the big exam is in a month. Zhao looks puzzled, not knowing what 1 month means. He jumps up, stressing it's the upcoming martial arts test. How could she forget? During the apocalypse, most professions, especially in arts and culture, fell into neglect. Artists, painters, and musicians became the lowest class as society focused only on survival and security. The warriors of the Tun Yeti organization were idolized as national heroes. To join Tunyeti, one must pass the National Martial Arts exam, the only path to change one's fate. Both fall silent, the atmosphere turning heavy. Jiao Jiao hesitates, then softly says she actually doesn't want to take the exam. She bites her lip, hesitating for a few seconds. Finally, she confesses she wants to study music. Jiangdu calmly replies, "Then just study it unless your dad forbids it." He thinks it over and guesses right Jiao Jiao's father, a high official in Tunyeti, would surely oppose it. Jiao Jiao freezes, her hand pausing midair. She quickly explains, "It's not that my dad disagrees," making Jiangdu curious to ask more. Continuing to apply ointment, she whispers, "Don't tell anyone the policy's changed. This year, anyone with qualifying aptitude must take the professional martial exam." Jiangdu is shocked, asking why weren't normal exams allowed before. She says sadly that Tunyeti is under immense pressure, forcing all human resources to enlist. He sits quietly, recalling how the watch nearly detected the strange energy inside him. Remembering that moment, he shudders if discovered. He'd probably have been shot on sight. He starts worrying whether that strange book might turn him into an aberrant. Then a sudden thought flashes in his mind. He quickly asks, "That device of yours, can it detect aberrants?" Jiao Jiao shakes her head, saying it only senses superhumans. If one meets a real aberrant, the only option is to run, and if you can't, call the emergency number before dying. Hearing the odd phrase, Jiangdu repeats, "Superhuman?" They stare at each other in silence for a long time. She says she's done treating him and prepares to leave, but Jiangdu asks to borrow books about superhumans and aberrants. Jiao Jiao looks surprised, and Jiangdu explains he wants to study since he must take the martial exam this year. She half believes him and leans closer, while Jiangdu awkwardly adds it's for his novel research. Jiao Jiao eagerly asks him to tell the story. He blushes, realizing he's made it up. Jiangdu begins narrating about Abin, a weak but kind boy chosen for an elite soldier project. With extraordinary willpower, Abin transforms completely, injected with serum to become a powerful warrior. But the organization sends him to infiltrate the upper class until the aberrant Sir Skeleton attacks carrying a cosmic Rubik's Cube. They both burst into laughter midway through the story. The scene shifts as she waves goodbye with a smile. They reach Lu Dia's floor, and Jiao Jiao tells Jiangdu to wait while she gets documents from her father's room. Her room is decorated with cute items, mostly in pink tones. Jiangdu looks around, his gaze landing elsewhere. He notices a comic book lying on the bed. Curious, he reads the cover and realizes it's a sibling romance manga, surprised that Jiao Jiao reads that genre. Jiao Jiao blushes, snatches it back, saying it belongs to a friend who left it there. She warns him not to touch her stuff. Jiangdu obediently agrees. He chuckles, thinking she's still as carefree as ever. Jiangdu looks around the room, remembering how she loved music as a child and often made him listen even though he hated it. He turns on the radio, letting music fill the room. Old memories return, recalling the two of them catching goldfish together years ago. Jiangdu trembles, mumbling in fear. Jiao Jiao suddenly asks when he became interested in music. Jiangdu rubs his eyes, slowly waking up. She teases that he used to visit her house without even knowing what music was. When Jiao Jiao hands him a strange object, Jiangdu eagerly asks what it is. She tells him to see for himself. He immediately puts the device on his head. Soon after, it lights up and activates. Jiangdu is drawn into a different world. In an instant, he falls through a spatial gate. He hazily opens his eyes in an unfamiliar scene. Surrounded by countless eyes, he's terrified. Overwhelmed by the surreal yet vivid abyss. He realizes it's a forbidden zone where aberrants that destroy the world are born. Seeing the horrifying scene, he exclaims it's the same kind of aberrant he saw at the hospital. Jiangdu deduces there's a shadow layer between reality and the abyss, a passage allowing aberrants to slip through even under control. He quickly avoids the bright glowing area, then moves toward a safer zone. Jiangdu concludes the shadow layer regenerates monthly, mirroring the real world. With each cycle, aberrants grow stronger while powerful humans lose strength and vision here. The pollution level is immense. Anyone staying too long turns into an aberrant, but strangely he feels nothing this time. An aberrant suddenly appears right behind him. He spins around in shock. Before it strikes, a golden light blasts the creature. The aberrant vanishes instantly with the light. Zhangdu shields himself instinctively. He concludes that to fight aberrants, one must meet a special condition. That is to possess equal power to become a superhuman. Witnessing this, he grows excited, thinking passing the exam could make him that strong. But the system reveals the truth. Superhumans are actually hosts of aberrant energy. They live torn between control and gradual corruption. Superhumans must constantly resist the pollution invading their bodies. After death, they're even more likely to mutate into aberrants. So when they sense the end coming, they must accept that fate. Zhangdu is stunned, speechless. The system reminds him to use all his strength before dying. Suddenly, the screen shuts off. He jolts awake, shouting in panic. Zhao Zhao worriedly asks, and Zhangdu replies wearily that the information overload made his head spin. He casually asks Zhao Zhao to give him a back massage. She glares angrily, demanding he explain himself. Zhangdu changes tone, offering 3 original clean art pages if she agrees. Zhao Zhao immediately accepts the deal. While massaging him, she's surprised by how firm his muscles feel. Zhangdu proudly says he's been training and even has abs, leaving her stunned. Without hesitation, she lifts his shirt to touch each muscle. Right then, Captain Lu walks in. His furious glare makes Zhangdu nervously greet Uncle Lu. A moment later, all 3 sit down for dinner together. Zhangdu stays silent, focusing only on eating. The glance between him and Lu Dui made the man grit his teeth in anger. Zhao Zhao tried to ease the tension, saying it was just a misunderstanding. He didn't believe it, claiming he saw it himself, while she stammered for excuses. Zhao Zhao blushed and urged Zhangdu to speak up. He bowed seriously and admitted fault, volunteering to drink as punishment. Without waiting for approval, he downed the glass and told others to do as they wished. Seeing that, Lu Dui grew even angrier, thinking it was insolent. He burst into rage, flipped the table, and shouted, making Zhao Zhao rush to stop him. Zhangdu, frightened, ran while explaining it was all a misunderstanding. The story shifted to his memory of being a mischievous child. Zhao Zhao, in contrast, was polite and gentle, but always liked playing with him. He often dragged her into pranks, and she followed eagerly. Neither would yield. Maybe because he once helped her during hard times. Or perhaps his daring nature fascinated her. She might have been drawn to his fearless demeanor. Zhao Zhao always cheered, shouting, "Go Jiang!" Even when pretending to be beggars, she joined enthusiastically. That's why Zhangdu was often scolded by Lu Dui for leading a good girl astray. Since childhood, Lu Dui had forbidden his daughter from playing with Zhangdu, always wary of him. He sternly took a lighter from his pocket, then flipped it open, ready to light a cigarette. Zhao Zhao frowned, clearly annoyed. She quickly snatched the cigarette from his hand. Lu Dui's face darkened as he sternly questioned what they were doing before he came. Zhangdu quickly reported they were studying materials on superpowers and the extraordinary. Hearing that, Lu Dui pondered for a moment, then turned away. Zhao Zhao playfully stuck out her tongue and smiled. He sighed, saying he might have spoiled his daughter too much. Then he seriously called Zhangdu's name. He asked directly why the government forbids students from learning early about the extraordinary. Zhangdu awkwardly admitted he didn't fully understand. Lu Dui calmly explained, "Darkness exists in every heart, and despair can drag one into the abyss, so not all secrets can be exposed." Zhangdu listened attentively to every word. He emphasized that not everyone has the will to bear such power. Even a small crack in one's heart could let anomalies invade. That's why both body and mind are tested before the martial exam. The path of the extraordinary is full of traps and dangers. Lu Dui sighed, saying even with support devices, many die each year, so he didn't want Zhangdu involved. Zhangdu smiled gratefully, saying he understood and thanked Uncle Lu. He optimistically said since the test is coming, it's better to face it confidently than fearfully. Lu Dui sighed, saying, "Zhang kid, you're really a strange one." His phone rang with an urgent report about an incident in the shadow layer. He immediately accepted the order, saying he'd go at once. Before leaving, he warned Zhangdu not to let him catch any shady act again. Zhangdu solemnly promised, making Zhao Zhao choke on her drink in embarrassment, saying he wouldn't cross the line again. She blushed, pinched his cheek, scolding him for talking nonsense since nothing had happened yet. The scene shifted to streets glowing in the sunset. Crowds bustled as the cry of a candied haw seller echoed in the cold evening. A cheerful boy enjoyed his snack. Shangdu gazed at the sign Rilo Tun Ye Yunhai Security, regretting he'd only learned basic knowledge. Jiangdu entered a supermarket, carefully picking the needed items. He sighed, thinking with Uncle Le's cautious nature, those materials were surely locked away for good. As he was about to pay, his phone suddenly rang. Jiao Jiao nagged on the line, telling him to buy more eggs and milk, then hung up. Jiangdu muttered that if she wanted feminine stuff, she should just say so instead of circling around. He picked up the bag and smiled mischievously. After finishing, Jiangdu carried his bags home, thinking his shadow training was becoming ineffective. He resolved to change, deciding practice alone wasn't enough, he needed real combat. Midway, Jiangdu suddenly stopped. He looked around, noticing anti-anomaly propaganda had become common recently. He guessed this year's martial exam was being forced to expand recruitment. Jiangdu looked up at the sky. Under the dark clouds, he felt uneasy, sensing something big was coming. He took a deep breath, calmed himself, and muttered he'd just find an anomaly to fight and vent. After speaking, Jiangdu glanced around cautiously. Once sure no one was there, he began summoning his shadow trace ability. Jiangdu closed his eyes, feeling the energy flow around him. In an instant, the space warped, and he stepped into the illusion zone. A health bar appeared on the interface, only 14% remained. In the eerie silence, he growled, "Who's there?" But only chilling quiet answered him. From the dark corner, a limping man emerged. Dabao, covered in wounds, dragged himself forward. His face was cracked, eyes hollow and lifeless. Seeing him approach, Jiangdu recoiled in fear. He recognized the man as his neighbor and panicked, asking why he was here. Before Dabao could answer, he collapsed unconscious. Jiangdu froze, not understanding what was happening. He anxiously checked the situation. After a while, Dabao still lay motionless. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared behind him. It crept closer as the health bar rose to 24%. Jiangdu instantly sensed something was wrong. He clenched his fists, locking on the target ahead. His eyes burned with anger, pressure focusing in his palm. He recalled Dabao once complaining that work at Tunye Division was overwhelming, with no rest. He had thought civilian duty would be easy, but daily overtime made him regret taking the martial exam. At that moment, a desperate scream echoed for help. 2 children in the dark corner cried in terror, begging to be saved. Dabao froze before the horrifying sight, an anomaly dragging people into the dark side, something never seen in the real world. The 2 children panicked, reaching out and pleading in despair. Without thinking, Dabao rushed forward. He reassured the children firmly, "Don't be afraid, hang on." He grabbed their hands and tried to pull them out. But the pull was too strong, dragging him into another space. Dabao gritted his teeth, heart pounding in fear. He widened his eyes, unable to believe the scene before him. A distorted world appeared, and the 2 kids cried miserably. They screamed for their mother in despair. Dabao realized he'd been pulled into the dark layer, panicking for forgetting his anti-contamination gear. Suddenly, a gleaming blade shot toward them. He instinctively turned to dodge. His hand blocked the blade, deflecting it away. Without giving the enemy a chance, he crushed the strange weapon. Looking around, Dabao saw the earlier rift had vanished, cutting off his way back. He bit his lip and cautiously surveyed the terrain. Dabao calmly analyzed. This area swarmed with anomalies that could attack any time, while he'd been out of combat too long. Worse, there were 2 useless kids to protect. Their sobbing echoed through the gloomy space. He pressed a button on his wristband to send a distress signal. The device lit up, signal activated. Dabao softly reassured them, "Don't cry, take this, it prevents contamination. It'll find a way to get you home." Desperation welled inside him. He doubted he'd survive, but hoped the children would. One child asked innocently, eyes full of hope, "You'll really take us home?" Dabao nodded slightly, telling them to hide nearby. He turned his back, calmly saying, "I have something to do." In that instant, memories flooded back at 18. He entered the Superpower Martial Department, starting his arduous journey. His dream was to become a true warrior. In his second college year, under his professor's guidance, he once defeated a level 0 anomaly. But that joy didn't last long. He soon realized the extraordinary world was far crueler. Effort alone not enough to advance. In this realm, talent decided everything, and diligence meant little. Dabao bitterly admitted all his efforts seemed pointless. He sank into despair, crushed that even his best couldn't defy cruel fate. In the end, he had to quit martial arts, switching to literature, living as an ordinary office worker. Now Dabao seriously wrapped bandages around his hand. He took a deep breath, turned, and warmed up, ready to fight. A beast-type anomaly growled toward him, he assessed. 4 limbs, 4 eyes, mid-tier hybrid. It didn't hesitate, lunging straight at him. Dabao held firm, breath steady. He struck, knocking its long tongue aside. The anomaly roared, swinging its scythe-like limb in return. Dabao stepped back, dodging the slash. He countered with a swift upper hook. The monster was caught off guard, unable to react. Dabao shouted excitedly. The old thrill of battle had returned. But as he finished speaking, Dabao's eyes widened in shock. A long, thin hand suddenly lunged from the void. Dabao was slammed to the ground as the anomaly retracted its arm with a chilling grin. He tried to fight back, but his body froze, disobeying his will. Taking advantage, the creature launched a furious assault. Though weakened, his training instincts guided his reflexes. Dabao dodged every lethal strike. His body began to go numb as toxins and corruption spread like needles through his veins. He quickly shifted direction, circling away. Clenching his fist, Dabao resolved, "Can't drag this out, must end it now." He poured all his remaining energy into one final punch. That punch, the ultimate move, Yin Shadow Fang, blinded and shredded the foe's core. The anomaly screamed wildly, charging back. But Dabao struck with a devastating blow, blasting it away. He gasped for air, coughing up a mouthful of black mist. Feeling the corruption spike, he thought bitterly, "Someone with poor aptitude like me can't use power too often. Lucky I work a desk job now." Suddenly, the anomaly roared again, refusing to yield, and lunged once more. As they clashed, Dabao gritted his teeth, thinking, "If I don't risk it today, I'll die anyway." But the creature suddenly sidestepped his attack. Cunning arrogance flashed in its eyes. A slash across his abdomen made Dabao spit blood. He was thrown backward violently. He slid nearly 10 meters before regaining balance. Clutching his chest, he bitterly realized it had adapted to his move too fast. Even as a low-tier anomaly, compared to trained combat students, he was far too weak, the gap of talent. Knowing he couldn't win, Dabao still charged forward. As a member of Tunye Division, retreat was forbidden. Now all he could do was stall for time. Wait for Tunye Division's agents to rescue the children. Blood splattered as the brutal battle raged. Dabao's eyes widened in horror and disbelief. A deep slash tore across his shoulder. The scythe-armed monster struck him down completely. His vision blurred, fading into darkness. All that remained in his eyes was despair, death approaching. As he lay dying, memories surfaced. At 15, he saw his family killed by anomalies. At 18, he awakened and vowed to follow the martial path. At 22, after his second college year, he was forced to leave the combat division. At 26, he interned at Tunye Division, working a desk job for 4 years. That was his life. Despite all he'd endured, he was still just an ordinary man in a vast world. The century-long war between humans and anomalies had never known peace, only unending defeat. When darkness covers the sun, who still believes in the future? Dabao gave a cold smile, silently encouraging himself. He reached into his pocket for something. Death was never foreign to the extraordinary. He swallowed a blue pill, ready for the final moment. A fierce light flared in his eyes, as if he sought one last foothold before falling. He gritted his teeth, wiped the blood from his lips, and called his enemy's name one last time. His body jerked upright as energy erupted violently within him. Dabao gave a cold smile, eyes locked on the foe, entering the second stage. The pill's effect spread through his body, triggering transformation. He immediately took a guard stance, ready to block the next strike from the apartment specter. With a roar, he gathered all his strength to counterattack. The monster slashed wildly, forcing him to leap high to evade. He spun mid-air, delivering a hammer-like kick straight to its face. The specter staggered back, giving Dabao a chance to close in. He clenched his fist, focusing power for a decisive blow. His punches rained down, making the ghost howl in agony. Only one thought echoed in his mind: stay strong, never fall. but his vision blurred, body weakening, nearly collapsing. Dabao gathered his last strength, his purple-tinged hand trembling to keep balance. Yet his body faltered, mind spinning out of control. The ghost seized the moment, landing a crushing punch. The blow sent him flying, slamming hard to the ground. The impact kicked up clouds of dust all around. Blood soaked the floor as he bitterly realized his own power had turned against him, pathetically helpless. He gritted his teeth in pain, wondering if this was the end of his meaningless life. Suddenly his eyes widened in shock at something unexpected. Near him stood Jiang Du, carrying groceries and scolding Dabao for coming here for nothing. Dabao stared in confusion. This man didn't look like a Tunye division officer. His speech and aura were strange. Could he be a hidden extraordinary? Jiang Du helped him up, calmly saying to rest and leave the rest to him. With a confident smile, he added that the entrance to the Dark Zone was now tightly guarded by Tunye division. That meant no one could easily enter unless they were a master from the forbidden area. That thought barely formed. Jiang Du was struck by a crushing blow from the apartment ghost. He was thrown over 3 meters away, leaving Dabao stunned and muttering, "So weak." The ghost moved in to exploit the opening. Suddenly, a hand appeared from the void. It landed a powerful slap, twisting the monster's face. Then came a barrage of fierce blows, blood spurting from its body like a fountain. Jiang Du fought while panting, his face filled with killing intent. He pointed the sauce bottle he'd bought straight at the monster, taunting, "Your opponent is me!" In the dark space, the battle grew even fiercer. Jiang Du skillfully dodged the ghost's slashes. A glass liquor bottle rolled out from the debris. He grabbed it, turning it into a weapon to knock the foe back. The ghost roared, swinging its scythe furiously. But Jiang Du vanished, reappearing behind it in a flash. He struck with the shattered bottle, landing a fatal hit that made the monster scream in agony. Jiang Du fought while laughing arrogantly, declaring he'd found its weakness after his previous loss. Now that the ghost was wounded, its power and speed dropped, tilting the fight in his favor. He kept teasing it, using the glass bottle to mock the anomaly. It roared furiously, enraged and pained. The ghost retreated, keeping distance to avoid further pressure. Dabao stood frozen, unsure if this was madness or genius, chaotic yet effective. Jiang Du shouted, recalling their old grudge, charging in to avenge the scratch incident with a furious counterattack. Suddenly, his eyes widened as he sensed something wrong. The anomaly whipped its tail hard, flinging him away. Jiang Du crashed against the wall, gasping in pain. He coughed violently, realizing he'd been careless, focusing too much on one point. In front of him, the ghost roared again, preparing to finish him off. Jiang Du frowned, calculating that a few more hits would end him. Retreat seemed safest. But then he smirked, thinking abandoning others would betray himself. With only 20% health left, Jiang Du gritted his teeth he'd fight to the end, even if it meant death. Dabao shouted that the monster's right rib was its weak spot and told him to target it. Jiang Du smiled in understanding and immediately counterattacked as planned. The ghost sensed danger, instincts on high alert. But Jiang Du had already read its move, smiling confidently. He twisted his body fluidly, diverting its gaze. The glass shard in his hand pierced straight into its rib area. The monster's health dropped to 18%. It screamed in pain, terrified and ready to flee. Jiang Du was momentarily surprised that such a hit could make it run. But the anomaly suddenly lunged toward Dabao. Dabao realized something was off and shouted. The real target was the 2 children nearby. He panicked as it opened its mouth full of teeth, preparing to devour them to heal. The monster darted toward the kids. Its fangs were about to bite down. The older brother trembled but shielded his sister with his body. At that moment, a shout rang out, "Stop right there!" Jiang Du clenched his fists, veins bulging. He readied himself with a soda can in hand, eyes blazing with fury. Then he hurled it with full force at the anomaly. The can spun through the air, tracing a gleaming arc, straight toward the creature's head. It flinched and turned, spotting the object flying at it. It dodged sideways, narrowly avoiding the hit. At the same time, Dabao rushed forward to assist. He had somehow leapt high off the ground. He delivered a full power kick to the ghost's head. The blow landed perfectly, channeling every ounce of strength he had left. The anomaly lost balance and fell backward. Its health dropped to 15%. Dabao coughed blood from overexertion. The ghost roared insanely, threatening to bite him apart. As it lunged to swallow him, a powerful hand suddenly grabbed its head. Jiangdu appeared, wearing a fierce, confident grin. Honda bit hard into the monster's neck. Its health bar dropped further to 14%. He grabbed its hair and smashed its head to the ground, cracking the floor. Sitting on top, he punched repeatedly, shouting, "You filthy monster, take this!" Its remaining health fell to only 11%. He raised his hand for another blow, snarling, "Eat humans, huh? It'll show you what eating means." But suddenly, the monster's chest glowed, releasing strange energy that made Jiangdu pause. He gritted his teeth, shaping his hand into a sharp point. Without hesitation, he stabbed straight into the glowing core. The strike pierced perfectly through the energy sphere. Even as the force rebounded, he roared, "Die!" Energy burst from his body, causing a violent shockwave. The anomaly screamed in agonizing pain. Finally, its body exploded, head flying amid thick smoke. Jiangdu, drenched in blood, panted heavily and wiped his stained face. The scene around him was now a wreck, chaos everywhere. He activated his power, linking the shadows to the surroundings. The scattered debris instantly rearranged into order. The broken walls slowly reformed, sealing as if never shattered. Only Dabao and the two children lay unconscious, breathing weakly. Jiangdu tilted slightly, his bones aching, blood still flowing. Yet his lips curved into a faint smile. He'd finally repaid the old scratch debt. His vision blurred, the world before him fading. His body swayed, unable to stay upright. In the final moment, Jiangdu only saw his shadow fading before collapsing into darkness. The city was engulfed in flames and dense smoke. Bodies lay scattered everywhere, a scene of utter despair. Towering fires devoured the entire urban district. Jiangdu stood frozen. It was Shijai, but why had it become hell? A sense of dread made him turn around instantly. Somehow, swarms of anomalies had surrounded him. He panicked as they charged, roaring their species names. The horde stretched out claws as if fighting to claim the prey before them. Before Jiangdu could react, his body was pulled backward. He was swallowed by the dense mass of anomalies, unable to resist. It was as if he'd been consumed by a massive black hole, vanishing completely. The ruined city was left with only the stench of death and ashes. The sun sank. The world split into the dark side, a realm of chaos, cruelty, and coldness, where humans and extraordinaries alike struggled amid corruption and despair. This was Da Zhou, the true face few dared to face. In his coma, Jiangdu heard someone calling him to wake up. The voice was urgent, shaking him, asking if he was still alive. Jiangdu coughed, sat up. Realizing he was still alive, it had only been a nightmare. He remembered that after killing the anomaly, his mind went blank, recalling nothing. He placed a finger on the monster's forehead, activating the Shadow Guard skill. The dark energy within the anomaly was absorbed completely into Jiangdu's body. Dabao looked over, asking worriedly, "You okay? Why so quiet?" Jiangdu replied softly, "I'm fine." Seeing Dabao's health bar drop to 10%, Jiangdu calculates he's near death with only a 30% survival rate, and 5% means critical danger. Dabao suddenly stands up and pats Jiangdu's shoulder, startling him. He asks Jiangdu to help him to the wall, both sit and gasp for breath in a safe corner. Dabao glances over and softly asks if he isn't from the Night Patrol Division. Jiangdu is surprised he doesn't recognize him despite living in the same building. Since the man seems blind, Jiangdu understands why he can't tell. He mocks that the weak monster slayer surely isn't from the Night Patrol Division. Jiangdu gets annoyed, feeling his rescue was wasted effort. Dabao teases back, saying Jiangdu still has some talent. Hez puzzled seeing Jiangdu use a soy sauce bottle as a weapon and wonders if he's all right. Jiangdu admires that even injured, members of the Night Patrol Division stay calm. Dabao curiously asks about his school and year. Jiangdu awkwardly lies he's a sophomore at North Capital Prefecture. Excited to hear Hez a junior, Dabao keeps asking about his major, tiring Jiangdu. Dabao guesses he's from the martial arts department, not literature. He asks if Jiangdu has any medicine. Jiangdu doesn't get it at first. Jiangdu takes out a biscuit box and offers one. Dabao accepts without refusal. Jiangdu breaks the biscuit stick in half. He gives half to Dabao, who complains about his stinginess. Zhangdu points to the ground, saying many sticks are scattered, pick them up if he wants. The atmosphere slowly quiets down. Dabao asks if it's Zhangdu's first solo win against a mutant. Zhangdu replies vaguely. Dabao looks up at the sky, eyes reflecting deep thoughts. He admits admiration for martial students, but laments his own poor aptitude and hopelessness. Zhangdu tries to change the subject, suggesting they rest for rescue. Dabao just smiles, saying he just needs someone to talk to. He compares office workers' willpower to cotton fragile despite quantity. When disaster strikes, can it really be stopped? Zhangdu asks if he regrets not studying another field or entering the darkness as an office worker. Suddenly, he grips his hand tightly, growing tense. Dabao grits his teeth and admits deep regret. He says he was once a happy office worker but recklessly entered danger and now pays the price. After venting, Dabao coughs violently. Zhangdu panics, urging him to stay calm or he won't last till rescue. He chuckles weakly, saying the distress signal was sent long ago and help should be near. Zhangdu no DS and gets up to leave, somewhat reassured. No one notices the child still holding a strange glowing ring. Dabao pulls him back, warning not to wander or monsters will eat him, mocking his weak skills. Zhangdu breaks into a cold sweat, wanting to run, feeling tortured by the man's words. The narrow alley echoes with their laughter amid the ruins. Dabao keeps rambling, telling old battle stories like a self-proclaimed legend. Zhangdu's ears ring from listening, and he just wants to scream. Dabao suddenly grows solemn, asking him to tell Teacher Zhou he's sorry for failing expectations. Zhangdu rubs his head, holding back a tired sigh. He continues, sending thanks to the vice head teacher while teasing her teaching style. Zhangdu frowns, saying he can thank her himself once he's better, no need to record it. That makes Dabao pause in silence for a while. Then he sighs, saying he just wanted someone to confide in. He gazes into the distance, voice filled with nostalgia. His eyes dim, regretting he can't return to his North Capital Prefecture days. He softly asks if there are more biscuits, craving a few spicy sticks. Zhangdu is speechless, thinking such snacks might not even exist anymore. Dabao's arm weakens and drops to the ground. He knows his condition well, forcing a smile and saying, "So be it." Suddenly, a distant sound makes both of them alert. Dabao raises an eyebrow, recognizing it as the Night Patrol Division's rescue team. Xiangdu jumps up, relieved that help is coming. He shoulders his bag, ready to leave first. Dabao asks in surprise, "You're not coming with me?" Zhangdu turns back with a smile, "No need, I have my own path." Dabao understands and smiles faintly. He raises his head and wishes him peace, voice soft but sincere. Zhangdu grows suspicious if he's truly blind, replying shortly, "All right." Still, he walks away without looking back. Dabao lowers his head, quietly waiting for Zhangdu to disappear. A shadowy door opens beneath Zhangdu, leading to another world. Before vanishing, he looks back one last time. The Night Patrol team finds a member of the Night Division and 2 children. They immediately try to save him, but Dabao shows no reaction. The patrol confirms he has passed away. Zhangdu starts noticing something strange. Dabao's life energy drops to only 9%. He's shocked as the value keeps decreasing. By logic, with current medical tech, he should have been saved. Zhangdu sees a violent energy surge around him. The Night Patrol stands silently before Dabao's body. As his body fades, they bow in respect. Dabao's life force finally runs out. His body dissolves, merging into shattered energy streams. A faint smile still lingers on his lips. Zhangdu is frozen, unable to believe the scene. The exit from the shadow world activates unstoppable. Zhangdu reaches out helplessly. People around look at him in confusion. They whisper, thinking he's performing in the street. Grief is written all over Zhangdu's face. On a large screen, a voice suddenly speaks. The sound makes him realize a deeper meaning. It reminds him that even in despair, one must not give up as long as life remains. Compound number 3 is described as the final option, burning life force to unleash the Great Pearl technique. That sacrifice will be remembered fighting until the last breath. We, the Night Patrol, will continue to illuminate the mortal world with mortal bodies. The elevator slowly carries him upward. Zhangdu, covered in blood, stands silently waiting. The shock of loss still leaves him dazed. He steps out of the elevator quietly. He recalls the man's cheerful laughter. Maybe he just wanted someone to talk to before dying. No farewell, just a simple ending. Zhangdu tells himself to keep moving forward, no matter how ordinary. That man will remain an unerasable memory in his heart. He holds his head and sighs wearily after everything. Jung-do throws his stuff on the table, planning to shower and sleep. Even walking tires him, though his energy is still over half. He mutters that compared to the late man, he's still weak. He realizes physical training alone isn't enough. While eating, Jung-do thinks that willpower must also be honed. A strange voice startles him. Jiao Jiao, lying on the sofa, scolds him for not answering and bringing the wrong eggs. Jung-do explains he had to queue long since it's near New Year. He suddenly asks why she has his house key. Jiao Jiao replies Uncle Lee gave it to her to take care of him since he always orders takeout. She looks closely at his battered state, suspecting he was beaten. Jung-do dodges and urges her to go home before Uncle Lou misunderstands. Jiao Jiao insists on staying, telling him to come back, but he hides in the kitchen pretending to cook noodles. She quickly grabs him, not letting him escape. Suddenly, she freezes, eyes wide in horror. She screams, asking why he's so badly injured. Jung-do tries to flee, but she presses for the truth, refusing to let go. He makes up a story about being robbed and fighting back fiercely. He brags that the robber was beaten beyond recognition. At that moment, Jiao Jiao reaches her hand toward him. Her eyes are filled with pity. Jung-do freezes at her genuine concern. He's stunned that she actually believes his lie. Jiao Jiao gently touches his cheek, eyes soft. She asks worriedly if it hurts. Jung-do awkwardly lies that he's fine and tells her to go home. She blushes at her impulsive action. Turning away, she says she'll tell Uncle Lee he was fighting at midnight. Jung-do panics and pulls her back, claiming it was heroism, but she ignores him. He weakly complains, making her stop and ask if he's all right. She advises going to the hospital, but Jung-do insists the night patrol has better medicine. She doubts him, asking if he just wants her to apply medicine again. He awkwardly jokes. When she actually applies it, he screams in pain. Jung-do winces and begs her to be gentler. She pats his shoulder and warns him not to be reckless again, he hurriedly promises. She still eyes him skeptically while he keeps denying any fault. Jung-do argues he only watched, not joined, but Jiao Jiao doubts him and makes him repeat. He hurriedly insists he was just observing from outside. She reluctantly nods and turns away, saying she'll accept that for now. Jung-do teasingly asks if she wants to stay over since the room is big. Jiao Jiao turns back playfully, saying, "In your dreams." She slams the door and leaves decisively. Jung-do quietly lies alone in the living room. He mutters the man's words, North Capital Prefecture Academy Guard A, then suddenly remembers something important. He jolts up in shock. That man never told him his name. At that moment, Jung-do's body starts absorbing the leftover dark energy. That power makes his body faintly glow. The system announces, Jung-do has absorbed mutant Yuling shadow parasite, grade 1 larva, a dark being excelling in stealth. He's stunned that killing a mutant is now recorded by the system. In fact, only when the shadow host absorbs it does it register. The parasite energy quickly fuses into his body. A new skill appears. Shadow Strike first attack from darkness deals massive damage. He decides to test it. Jung-do stands and warms up. He crouches and calls, "Shadow Strike activate!" But only Cold Wind answers nothing happens. He gets irritated, thinking the system is trolling him. Then realizes maybe it failed because there's no target. He gives up, deciding to test later. He opens the system interface to check data. Display: Jung-do, Shadow Type, 14 Shadow Points, Shadow Guard Ability, Skills, Shadow Eye, and Shadow Form. Description: a being hidden in the night, a born assassin who lives and hunts in darkness. He frowns, mocking the system's cheesy game-like lines. Then curiously opens the Shadow Form section. System explains: in this form, Jung-do merges with darkness, gaining regeneration, stealth, no vital points, consuming energy only in reality. Jung-do's eyes light up, amazed by its power, especially the last part. He finds that even decapitation only costs 99% HP, not instant death. Jung-do yells angrily, "What's the point of 1% HP? Might as well die!" Then calms down, deciding it's still useful and tries to summon the shadow. Black mist rises from the floor. It slowly takes on Jung-do's mirrored shape. He raises his hand to test control. The shadow instantly mimics and raises its hand, too. Their hands meet and merge. The shadow fuses straight into his body. Blackness spreads across Jiangdu's face. Before he understands it, the shadow fully seeps in. His whole body transforms into a dark phantom form. He looks at himself in awe, exclaiming, "So this is shadow form." Hongdu takes a deep breath, sensing his body's transformation. He bends and leaps high, moving like a black arrow. The whole room is swept by waves of dark wind. He clearly feels his speed and strength skyrocketing. Jiangdu lifts the entire bed with one hand. He does push-ups with it like training, laughing gleefully. Then he lifts a 100-kilogram hammer. Without hesitation, he smashes it into his own face to test defense. Jiangdu stands akimbo, laughing. This form really is invincible. The downstairs neighbor wakes up shouting, "Fighting at night again?" He quickly stops, whispering, "Be humble," and deactivates the ability. Reopening the system, Jiangdu notices the line rank, the enigmatic one, and curiously asks its use. The system replies, "You possess incomplete authority. Unlocking it grants full awakening and exclusive power." It warns that unlocking carries risks, asking if he agrees. It also reminds him that danger can be opportunity. Jiangdu strokes his chin, thinking it might be worth trying. The word risk glows red, making him hesitate. While he's still unsure, the system auto-selects agree. Jiangdu panics, shouting, "Wait, I didn't confirm yet." A surge of black mist engulfs him, forming a dark cocoon. Everything in the room shakes violently from the energy. The only lit room in the city begins to quake. A world-shaking event unfolds inside. When the cocoon shatters, Jiangdu emerges pitch black, radiating cold aura. System message. New state, the hunter. If you abandon the hunt, you die in it. Every strike inflicts critical damage. Only non-physical weapons like guns, bows, or poison are exceptions. Final note, the deeper the night hunter hides, the wider his name spreads in darkness. System adds, the more you hunt, the greater the gains even gods can't escape. Shangyu mutters in shock, even gods can be hurt. System continues. After activating shadow form, kill potential rises and less HP is needed to finish targets. It details, when an enemy's HP nears empty and turns red, a critical point appears for execution. Hitting that point triggers slay, completely erasing the foe regardless of strength or rank. Jiangdu rereads carefully, pondering each line. He recalls the red spot from his last mutant fight. It must have been the slay mark. He murmurs, "Guaranteed hit plus execution," then bursts out laughing, feeling he's gained ultimate power. Jiangdu raises his hand to the ceiling, shouting excitedly, Invincible now!" But then something strikes his mind. He unwraps all the bandages on his body to check. Strangely, none of the system's warned dangers appear. His wounds are almost fully healed astonishingly fast. He peels the new skin to test. Seeing it instantly mend, he guesses the regeneration comes from shadow form. Next morning, Bao Kong asks Zhao Zhao about Jiangdu's post. "Last night I was a warrior, stabbed 88 times yet still awake." Xiao Xiao cuts in. He said he fought traffickers from one end of the street to the other. Bao Qiang panics. "So he really got hurt. Let's visit him." Zhao Zhao sighs, don't believe it, he was just chased by a hound. Her friends gape. She thinks that Jiangdu is making up stories again. Then the group heads to his house. Zhao Zhao tests the lock to prove her point. She takes out the key and opens the door. The two friends curiously ask why she has Jiangdu's house key. She calmly replies, "Uncle Jiangdu gave it to me to keep an eye on him." Then she calls out loudly, "Jiangdu, we're here to visit!" Inside, Jiangdu is curled up, clutching his wounds. He groans, "Shouldn't have peeled the scab. Stupid." Outside, Zhao Zhao calls anxiously. She rushes in, sees him unbandaged, and yells, "Why'd you take it off?" Jiangdu stammers, "Thought it was healed." The two friends whisper, "Looks like his post was real." They're stunned by Jiangdu's muscular body and tease that no wonder he fought traffickers. Zhao Zhao drags them out, sternly telling them to sit in the living room and behave. She pushes them out and slams the door shut. Bao Qiang whispers, "Are those two dating?" Xiao Xiao replies confidently, 80% sure. Zhao Zhao returns to apply medicine, making Jiangdu cry out in pain. She raises an eyebrow, doubting since this ointment shouldn't hurt at all. Jiangdu keeps whining while sneaking glances at her thighs. Zhao Zhao snaps, "You got kicked in the head? Peeling wounds that were healing?" Then she catches his sneaky gaze. She sighs, great, typical guy. He'll call Chubby to do it instead. Jiangdu panics, no, he's clumsy. Jiao Jiao squints suspiciously. She pinches Jiangdu's cheek. Looks like Uncle Lee hasn't disciplined you lately. He thinks even 800 times wouldn't help. Jiao Jiao pouts. So what did you really do last night? Don't say robbery. Jiangdu grins, guess believe it or not. He quickly adds, I really acted heroically. She scoffs, with that slick tongue. Who'd believe you? Jiangdu thinks, would she only believe if I told her I killed a mutant and met a night patrol member? He changes topic, by the way. What time did Uncle Lou get home? Jiao Jiao's surprised. He didn't. Why? Jiangdu sighs. Just thought how hard the night patrol has it working days and nights, always in danger. His words make Jiao Jiao pause, mood darkening. Jiangdu notices, guessing she worries deeply for Uncle Lou. She softly says, few in the night patrol ever live peacefully? Uncle Lee lost an arm. Lin Mo died at barely 20. Even strong ones like Uncle Lou were once gravely injured, body ruined, never to recover. She looks at him, asking, if you pass the martial exam, would you join the night patrol division? Jiangdu falls silent, not answering right away. He tries to joke to ease the tension, then smiles faintly. Not sure. But are there many pretty women in the night patrol? Jiao Jiao fumes, pinching his cheek hard. Shut up! Jiangdu yells, ow, stop pinching. He pleads, easy. Who's as violent as you? Jiao Jiao snaps, haven't seen violent yet? I'll show you. A cracking sound follows as Jiangdu screams. Outside, Bao Qiang whispers, what are they doing in there? Xiao Xiao sighs, guess. Finally, Jiangdu finishes applying medicine, changes clothes, and comes out. He awkwardly asks, why did you all come here? Bao Qiang shrugs. We heard your crazy post last night, so we came to check. Xiao Xiao adds, you okay? Seeing red marks on Jiangdu's neck, they misunderstand and tease. Hickeys, huh? Lou Rios wild. Jiangdu laughs casually. I'm fine, sit down and listen to my story. He starts fabricating. Last night I bought soy sauce and some stuff. Then some guy rushed me with a big bag. Jiao Jiao crosses her arms coldly, making things up again. She grabs 2 torn shirts. I'm heading to the supermarket. Might as well toss these. Jiangdu waves dramatically. Go ahead. That's when 80 tall thugs jumped out of the woods to surround me. In the middle of boasting, he suddenly remembers something. He rushes to stop her. Wait! There's something inside that shirt. But it's too late. The item falls out. A pack of sanitary pads lands squarely on the floor. Jiao Jiao freezes. Suspicious. Why do you have this? Jiangdu stammers. Didn't you have cramps last night? I bought it as a surprise. His friends burst out laughing. Only lovers do that. Total couple vibes. Jiangdu hands it to her. Take it. Tell me if you need more. Jiao Jiao blushes furiously, crushing the pack in her hand. She yells, don't need it, and throws it at his face. Then storms out in anger. Jiangdu rubs his forehead, sighing. She's mad again. Girls are impossible. His friends laugh. We're off. Good luck, lover boy. Jiangdu blinks. All gone. So quiet now. He activates the skill Shadow Eye. A black totem circle appears beneath his feet. Darkness spreads, enveloping his body. Black mist gradually covers Jiangdu's face. He grins. All right, time for a fun training session. Jiangdu enters Shadow State, feeling power surge. He moves deeper into the Shadow Realm where darkness thickens. He looks around, amazed at how comfortable his body feels. Like breathing fresh air in a meadow after escaping the city smog. He notices his stomach ache gone, blood restored fast. Raising his hand, Jiangdu mutters, all right, let's train. He drops to the ground, focusing power into his arms. His hands press down hard, generating explosive force. He leaps up to the ceiling, hitting it hard. Rebounding, he crashes down painfully. But he jumps up laughing, feeling pure strength flow through him. System message, shadow form activated. You've entered the shadow layer. Body fully released, mind free, ready for training. During training, the Shadow Guardian absorbs dark energy, slightly raising Jiangdu's stats. The darkness on his body begins shifting strangely. It contracts, then expands to cover him again. It seems to be analyzing his body. The system's algorithm accelerates continuously. Jiangdu felt satisfied, easily completing 1,000 plant holes. He found the room too small and decided to continue training outside. Jiangdu rushed straight to the park. He thought if this were real, The rich would fight to get enrolled. He grabbed the horizontal bar above his head. He kept spinning and doing pull-ups, vowing to win the world gold medal in horizontal bars. At the same time at Tunjati headquarters, a group of people dressed like elites walked in. They headed straight to the meeting room where the 6th team was present. One reported a major riot in the shadow layer with pollution levels exceeding limits. Teams B3, B7, and A2 in 3 areas detected suspicious cracks. The chaos was strange, mainly occurring in residential zones. Everyone looked serious. It was no longer random incidents. The meeting room sank into tense silence. The 6th team pondered, realizing aberrants were appearing more frequently. In the past 2 days, 4 people had been dragged into the shadow layer. The report also mentioned Dabao and his death. He worried that if aberrants evolved faster, the consequences would be far worse. Compared to shadow aberrants, the Abyss Rift posed deadlier threats. If those aberrants were beasts, then creatures from the Abyss were like giant monsters Godzilla level. Tun Guang spoke to calm everyone down. He said it was only speculation, no need to panic. He reminded them they had long prepared countermeasures. His words slowly eased the tension. The 6th team and others smiled faintly, relaxing. Tun Guang continued. Telling a subordinate to present the next part, the assistant responded. The report moved to the list of the recently fallen. After the meeting, the 6th team leader stood silently by the large window. He pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He took one out to smoke off the stress. He sighed, blaming the bad timing of troubles near year's end. But then he noticed something strange. What was in his mouth wasn't a cigarette. Frowning, he realized it was a biscuit swapped by a mischievous girl. As he froze, a pack of cigarettes was tossed his way. He caught it reflexively without looking. Then he looked toward the thrower. Tun Guang joked, telling him not to look so gloomy. He too had a cigarette in his mouth, asking if he wanted one. But the 6th team leader just set the pack down without replying. He slowly chewed the swapped biscuit instead, then calmly said he feared getting lung cancer. Tun Guang laughed loudly, teasing that even he feared illness now. The 6th team leader frowned, cutting him off, asking what business brought him here. Tun Guang exhaled smoke, his tone heavy. He said there was another new notice from higher-ups. The 6th team leader widened his eyes in shock, asking what notice. Tun Guang didn't answer right away, taking another drag. The 6th team leader seemed to understand, his face sinking it's happening again. He staggered slightly, bracing himself against the table. He pressed for confirmation. Tun Guang shrugged, saying his computer must-be received it too. The 6th team leader immediately opened his desk computer to check. He asked, "Which path did your daughter choose, martial or extraordinary arts?" The reply, "Not yet, waiting for aptitude test." The screen showed an urgent notice: children of 2nd tier and higher transcendence must register for the extraordinary system after testing. The 6th team leader asked back what his son would choose. He suggested fields like spirit technique, aberrant studies, or superhuman physiology. But Tun Guang stayed silent, twirling his cigarette. Then firmly said no registration at all. The 6th team leader was stunned, thinking he meant extraordinary literature, but Tun Guang said just normal studies. The 6th team leader laughed in disbelief, saying if aptitude was high, he'd be forced into the extraordinary system. Tun Guang stubbed out his cigarette, voice resolute. He put on his coat, preparing to leave, determined not to do any more tests. The 6th team leader called after him for an explanation, but Tun Guang brushed it off, saying, "Handle your work, I'm stepping out." The assistant entered, apologizing softly for interrupting. She reported new intel from the shadow layer. After reading, the 6th team leader froze, speechless. The report noted a new aberrant, code D29527, nicknamed Crazy Training Shadow that greets people. Description: a pitch-black shadow-like being first found in Qingyue district, likely wandered there by accident. It never tires. Passionate about physical training, uses exercise tools, and shows no aggression. When approached, it stops to salute. After 2 hours of observation, rated low threat, temporarily spared. The assistant summarized, new aberrant discovered, no prior record, needs his evaluation. The 6th team leader was baffled, unable to grasp what kind of aberrant this was. At the same time in the shadow layer, Zhang turned to the spider-like creature, noting its flesh held much more protein than rice of equal mass. Its meat was juicy and easy to cook, hairs burnt off easily, flavor unique, truly the taste of spider meat. Photos of the Shadow Layer's scenery gained many likes, making him dream of fame. He realized many now made videos about transcendence, once a censored topic. Suddenly, a system notice popped up, startling him. Zhang frowned and read an attribute called Shadow. Description: a hunter must keep hunting to survive. Hunting is their life's purpose, making them fearsome predators. He angrily slapped the info tab, dismissing the warning as nonsense. But then a more crucial entry appeared. The system showed remaining lifespan, 100 hours, the same as Zhang Du's data. He turned pale, realizing he had only about 100 hours to live. Zhang Du panicked, wondering why his lifespan was so short. He questioned if this was an inevitable risk of awakening the hunter trait. Forcing down panic, he reassured himself there must be a way to fix it. The intro clearly said hunters must keep hunting to extend lifespan. In other words, killing aberrants increases survival time. The text emphasized life and death were ruled by the hunter. Endless hunting could lead to immortality. Zhang Du speculated that hunting might be the path to immortality. The second section stated unique hunters could exist in another form even after their bodies perish. He was confused about what exist in another form actually meant. He mocked his fate, awakening only to live a few days, and thought of asking Uncle Lee for help. Looking at the spider before him, he decided to kill it to gain more lifespan. He turned on his phone camera, planning to upload the video to Uncle Lee's secret channel to get famous safely. He immediately activated his shadow form. The phone camera captured that moment clearly. He started a live stream, greeting viewers as Xiao Du and boasting he'd handle a giant aberrant alone. He told the audience to stay quiet as he approached and struck with a club. They moved closer, and he reminded everyone to stay silent to avoid startling it. Zhang Du pulled out a special steel rod worth several 100,000 with strange metal embedded on top. The giant spider sensed human scent and instantly turned to hunt. But as it lunged, Zhang Du dodged to the side. When it turned back, he had already leapt behind it. Zhang Du's heartbeat pounded, adrenaline surging. The aberrant spider lost its target in the darkness. Zhang Du delightedly realized the shadow ability granted total stealth. He only needed to find a weak spot. He crawled under the spider's abdomen. Zhang Du's eyes gleamed as he pinpointed its vulnerable area. He smirked, raised his club, muttering, "Let's end this." Half an hour earlier, from the spider's view, it had lived here long, considering it a safe zone. Compared to the abyss, this place was peaceful if it stayed cautious. It had just defeated an uglier kin, slightly injured but well-fed. Satisfied, it lowered its head to rest. Its eyes slowly closed in drowsiness. Suddenly, instinct jolted it awake, roaring for the intruder. It sensed something very close but couldn't locate it. A bad premonition urged it to flee. But before it could move, intuition screamed danger. A piercing blow struck its abdomen, making it shriek in pain. Zhang Du thrilled as power surged, realizing combat triggered his full potential. The spider's health bar dropped to about 40%, 2 more hits would do. But before he could strike, a huge claw swept sideways. The blow sent Zhang Du crashing hard to the ground. He crawled up amid rubble, grimacing from minor pain. The spider roared in fury, lamenting its ruined flower. Zhang Du laughed. His strike had pierced its weak spot, blood gushing out. He instantly sprang up to counterattack. Dark energy rose around him as shadow training form activated. He used its power to slide quickly into the ground. His body sank as if diving into water. He was astonished the shadow training ability allowed hiding within darkness. That meant no direct fight was needed. He could stalk like a true hunter and deliver the fatal blow to end the prey. Zhang Du watched the spider struggle, muttering about aberrance and transcendence. A hunter's grin spread across his face as he declared the hunt had officially begun. Elsewhere, a girl watching the live stream introduced herself as a Tunye T staff member ready to explain low-tier aberrant knowledge. The girl scrolled through several live rooms, stopped, introduced herself as La Lala, and prepared to review a small alley restaurant. A man appeared calling himself Jian Da Meng, pretending to be a villain. He declared he'd perform a highly dangerous stunt for viewers. Holding a lighter, he waved it around, but viewers mocked him as boring, saying his channel had run out of ideas. Suddenly, the girl Xiaodi widened her eyes in surprise. She had switched to Zhangdu's live stream and heard, "My name is Du," from Beidou, sparking her curiosity. Strange, aberrant images filled the screen continuously. Xiaodi gasped, thinking they were effects, but realized they were real creatures. Zhangdu explained, "It was the Wenying spider, a low-tier ancient demon species from the abyss." Comments flooded with praise. "Does so cool, handsome, and cold. Buy me spicy meat, please," while he calmly lectured that the markings on aberrants could emit dangerous mental pollution. Xiaodi frowned, annoyed viewers only flirted instead of listening. Yet she couldn't suppress her curiosity. Eventually, she typed, "Hey, handsome, can I?" teasing like the others. Suddenly, Zhangdu sank into the ground on screen. Xiaodi's eyes sparkled, thinking, could he be a transcendent? She chuckled in excitement, finding it all more fascinating. Meanwhile, in reality, Zhangdu faced the aberrant spider. He focused on the steel rod impaled in its body. A kick made the creature scream in pain. The spider went berserk, launching an energy blast at him. But Zhangdu vanished into stealth, escaping the strike. The spider grew confused, losing sight of its target. It glanced around at the spot of its failed attack. Suddenly, fingers lightly tapped its body from behind. When it turned around, Zhangdu raised 2 fingers in salute. "I'm right here." He dodged and mocked it, deliberately missing, taunting its clumsiness. Xiaodi was speechless, mouth agape in shock. The more she watched, the more smitten she became, so fast, so handsome, instant-like. On screen, the spider spewed a huge cloud of venom toward Zhangdu. The toxins spread, covering the entire ground. Zhangdu's figure vanished within the poisonous mist. The spider laughed arrogantly, thinking it had won. But Zhangdu's cold voice echoed, "Think a little acid trap can stop me?" He appeared atop a nearby building. Smiling, he said, "My shadow is everywhere." His figure shot forth like lightning. The spider unleashed more venom furiously. But Zhangdu dissolved again, moving freely within the darkness. His shadow slid across walls, leaping and melding seamlessly into space, unbelievably agile. He burst out from a wall, declaring, "I am the hunter born of darkness." Zhangdu drew another weapon shaped like a rod. He appeared beneath the spider's belly, muttering, "Endless hunting makes me forget my own name." A fatal strike pierced straight through the aberrant's body. Zhangdu's voice echoed, "My name is—" His body sank into thick black poison doozy. The battle ended with total victory belonging to Zhangdu. He began absorbing the mutant's energy, unlocking the ability Shadow Guard. Dark power from the abyss flooded into his body. Hondo took a deep breath, swallowing the gloomy energy whole. A white figure appeared amid the black smoke, light as mist. Zhangdu donned his coat, looking like a nameless god of the night. The livestream chat exploded. "Is this a superhero movie? Not CGI, right? He's so handsome, I love you, Du." Xiaodi on the other side hugged her phone tightly, blushing. She trembled with excitement. It had been a long time since she felt such a thrill. Without hesitation, she kept pressing follow. A blogger this cool and slightly insane was one of a kind. She even sent a private message. "Hi, wanna be friends?" That assassination scene was amazing. The system displayed Shadow Spider Pattern, Demonic Insect, Mid-Rank 1. Its pattern corrupts the mind. Prolonged gaze turns one into prey. Note: Abilities: Acid, Silk, Demonic Corruption. Cost after killing, Sensory Disorder. Shadow Guard Harvest. Skill, Shadow Thread, increases image power, negates the cost. Zhangdu sighed, so it's only mid-rank 1, thought it to be higher. He admitted he only won thanks to the Shadow Cluster skill. His true strength was still weak. Viewers skyrocketed to 1.5 million, shocking him. He smiled brightly, ending the stream. "That's all for today. Let's save some suspense for next time." Suddenly, he noticed thin black threads appearing on his hand. Zhangdu shot one toward the opposite building. His body soared through the air as if swinging on a line. He shouted in excitement, astonished. Then proudly declared, "I am Spider-Man," but lost control and slammed his head into the wall. Falling from inertia, Jiang grabbed a lamppost to reduce impact. He staggered up, groaning, "That hurts! I need more practice with shadow thread!" Checking the system panel, he saw only 7 days of lifespan left and sighed. Thought I'd gain more, turns out just 3 days. He worried since time remained, but mutants were hard to find. The system appeared, noting that hunters in the dark would gain unexpected rewards. His ferocious reputation spread, unlocking special privileges. The marking skill let him spot prey's weakness and induce fear, though briefly. Activating it consumed mental energy. The ability could expose his location, requiring caution. When he hit a target, his strength and agility temporarily increased. Chasing cost no extra energy. Duration matched the marking time. He had to kill the prey during pursuit to enhance himself. Jiang couldn't understand why his fame spread. Then he realized it might be from the previous live stream. From slaying mutants to posting videos, his power had surged. He eagerly decided to take action again. Jiang activated his hunting ability. Within sight, he detected traces of a mutant. He leapt off the lamppost, dove straight down to attack the target without hesitation. A cold smile appeared on his lips. After a night of battle, Jiang returned home. Zhao used alcohol cotton to treat his wounds. He cried out in pain. She frowned, scolding him for not staying put and causing trouble again. Jiang was embarrassed, unsure how to explain. He vaguely said he went out to do something righteous. She mocked that a hero shouldn't always end up injured. She criticized him for being reckless without real strength. He muttered that he got hurt on purpose just to be cared for by her. Zhao suspiciously asked what he just said. He quickly changed the topic, inviting her to watch a movie. She checked her phone, saying recent movies were boring, but then mentioned an interesting blogger. Jiang curiously asked who that was. She showed him the person's video. On screen appeared Jiang himself as Duzi, calling himself a mad assassin from the Shadow Realm. He spat out water in shock. Zhao, also surprised, asked why he reacted so strongly. Jiang hurriedly diverted the topic, asking if she was watching that video. She excitedly said it was trending, reaching the top in 2 days. Du was now famous online. He forced a smile but feared drawing the Night Patrol Bureau's attention. Zhao tilted her head, puzzled. She explained only core supernatural knowledge was banned from sharing. This kind of thing was fine. She played the battle scene of Du fighting the mutant. Zhao leaned close to him casually. She smiled, saying if he liked the supernatural, he should follow that person. She then showed another edited video by someone else. Her innocent smile made Jiang laugh too. That pure joy lightened the atmosphere. She suddenly suggested they make videos for fun, too. Jiang teased, asking if she planned to dance in a Shadow Realm dress. Zhao pouted, saying she wanted to make educational supernatural videos, not silly ones. He replied that she hadn't learned enough to compare with veteran night patrols, then reminded her not to dress like that outside, easy to be tailed. He mentioned once losing track of a suspicious person. Zhao was startled and asked again. She quickly drew her gun, stepping behind him. She pressed the gun against his waist. She asked coldly if those wounds came from stalking girls in uniform and getting beaten. Jiang raised his hands in fear, saying it was just a joke. She tapped the gun doubtfully, still unconvinced. He pleaded, and she angrily ordered him to cook as punishment. After eating, Jiang collapsed tiredly onto the couch. He sighed while checking his phone, relieved Zhao was back, but suddenly got flooded with messages asking his identity, video purpose, and if he was a real night patrol. Messages of praise, curiosity, and nonsense piled up. Jiang realized he was truly famous. Amid all that, one thing caught his attention. A stream of attacks and mockery claiming Du had been exposed and the video was fake. Netizens urged Du to show up and prove himself, mocking him for using edits to get fame. Jiang clicked the shared link. Content links to another channel where the host calling himself D-Dao appears. A bald man doubts its authenticity, mocking details about anomalies in the shadow layer. He inspects each frame on his computer and accuses it of obvious editing. He further points out blurred backgrounds, suspecting staged footage. Jiang angrily recalls that channel used to do cooking videos and explains he only cut bad parts. The old man claims to be a veteran night patroller and advises Du to handle things himself. He switches to reading the comments below. Some people insist the footage is real, and the edits aren't proof of faking. Others criticize the camera angles, but praise Didao as a master night patroller. Jiangdu sneers, saying, "Let the world expose him, time will tell who's right." He vows to hunt more anomalies to gain lifespan if his name is smeared. Before that, he plans to teach that blogger a lesson. Jiangdu posts a counterattack, calling the accuser deceitful and demanding an apology. He jumps back into the shadow layer. This time, he brings a mini camera instead of a phone. Jiangdu attaches the camera to his left chest. He notices fewer anomalies than before. The shadow layer seems rearranged. Suddenly, the hunting skill lights up on his HUD. Jiangdu detects a hidden anomaly, suspecting an ambush nearby. He tells himself to prove his skill and charges forward without hesitation. Jiangdu steps out from the building's front yard. Looking down from the height makes him tremble slightly. He finally chooses the stairs, reminding himself to stay calm and avoid foolish risks. The anomaly crouches, sensing for prey. It doesn't realize danger is right beside it. Jiangdu stands squarely before it and activates Mark. Instantly, the prey falls into his targeting range. He rejoices as the mark works, the target showing fear. He recognizes the foe's shape as an evolved version of an old species. But Jiangdu feels no fear. He believes he has evolved too. He immediately strikes upward with the rising dragon staff technique. The monster's HP bar drops to 45%. Not relenting, he continues to chase the anomaly. He leaps up and attacks from above. His eyes sharpen like blades. He activates the hunt at the right moment. The system reports. Mark triggers hunt, boosting power and speed for 1 second. Slaying the target grants rewards. Jiangdu appears once again before the monster, but the anomaly dodges with great agility. Its speed surprises him slightly. He jumps toward it without hesitation. The anomaly senses danger and flees. Song Jiangdu swiftly blocks its path. Finally, the anomaly is forced to reveal itself. Its mouth full of tentacles opens wide to strike. An invisible shockwave shoots straight at Jiangdu. Hez startled by a psychic attack, feeling dizzy for a moment. 2 sharp slashes then fly toward him. The blow makes Jiangdu's HP bar drop sharply, leaving him reeling. He steps back, trying to regain balance before steadying himself. He laments that its power drained 34% of his HP in an instant. As the dust clears, the anomaly's shape becomes clearer. Jiangdu assesses it as a foe with high power, fast reflexes, and brute strength. Wiping blood from his lip, he decides to change tactics. He uses the skill to burrow underground and evade attacks. He darts away skillfully, dodging every strike. But the anomaly refuses to give up and continues to pursue. It lunges with massive scythe blades aimed at Jiangdu. Suddenly, the anomaly freezes, unable to move. Its 2 scythes have been restrained by a shadowy figure. Jiangdu seizes the chance and punches it directly. He sneers, mocking the immobilized creature. His legs spring as he moves fluidly, ready to strike again. He unleashes continuous attacks, confident the stronger foe is now bound. The anomaly lies still, unable to move at all. Restrained, it roars in furious frustration. Jiangdu kicks hard, asserting his dominance. He punches and kicks the monster's face relentlessly. Gradually, the target weakens to a critical state. He raises his hand, ready to finish it off. Suddenly, Jiangdu's motion freezes mid-air. Cold sweat forms as something unbelievable happens. The anomaly's face morphs into that of Dabaoying, the night patroller. Jiangdu is stunned, wondering why that man appears here after being taken away. The anomaly seizes the moment to burst free and escape. It flees in panic, leaving him standing in shock. A hurried voice yells for him to stop. Jiangdu chases to a tall building, then halts, overwhelmed. Gasping for breath, he hopelessly searches for traces. He walks past and sighs in helpless frustration. It seems all signs of the target have vanished. The system reports he has detected new prey within the shadow layer. The prompt describes excitement before the upcoming hunt, stirring his desire. Jiangdu walks slowly, ignoring the loud, tempting whispers in his ears. The system warns that repeated hunting failures will weaken power and lifespan, reminding that only killing expands authority. Despite the warning, eagerness to continue the hunt burns within him. Eerie whispers seem to mock his looming fate. Irritated, he slams his fist into the system interface. The system snaps back, ordering him to cease his agitation. After the outburst, Jiangdu withdraws his hand, lost and unsure. Images of the one who once sacrificed himself now surface, filling him with sorrow. Suddenly he freezes, his whole body numb as if locked. Staring at his reflection in the glass, he imagines himself turning monstrous in death. The thought of becoming a creature makes him shudder uncontrollably. He clenches his fists, realizing there's no turning back. With resolve, he must keep hunting and killing to survive and evolve. After that, Jiangdu moves to Yunhai Assembly Zone, East Sector 1, Huang Grounds. Observing the area, he confirms it's a frequent anomaly hotspot. Jiangdu opens a passage leading deeper inside as gray light appears. Immediately, a gate manifests on the tall building ahead. He dashes out of the gate at near teleportation speed. Jiangdu notices that anomalies here are far more numerous than before. However, they are timid, hiding inside buildings without showing themselves. Suddenly, his gaze stops upon something in the distance. On a rooftop stands an anomaly that doesn't hide, surprising him. Jiangdu instantly senses something abnormal about this. He concludes silently, that creature must be very strong. Even so, it's heavily wounded with little blood left. He considers this a golden opportunity and refuses to miss again. A shadowy figure stealthily approaches the rooftop. Jiangdu's shadow-stained hand slowly rises from the ground. He creeps closer to the anomaly. But with the slightest movement, it becomes alert. When the anomaly turns its head, Jiangdu sinks into the ground instantly. The scene returns to normal as if nothing happened. He's surprised by the exceptional sharpness of anomalies here. Jiangdu assumes it's on high alert, its weak points hidden, for now he must lower its guard. He waits patiently for the right moment. When the anomaly resumes eating, Jiangdu knows the chance has come. He immediately activates Hunt and marks the target. Meanwhile, in the Liu family apartment, Zhao Zhao scolds as someone enters, asking why they're back so late. She calls out, asking for help. Tun Guang jokes if she's cooking for Jiangdu again. Captain Liu laughs, saying the boy's almost his son-in-law. Zhao Zhao blushes and turns away, telling her father not to talk nonsense. She asks why he's home early. He says he's free today and suggests dining out. She declines, saying she's already halfway through cooking. Tun Guang cheerfully says they can eat her food instead, teasing her. She flushes red and scolds Uncle Li. He asks where Jiangdu is. She replies she hasn't seen him, probably out playing. Tun Guang sighs, criticizing the boy for leaving her to cook alone. At that moment, Jiangdu appears, covered in injuries, complaining of hunger and joking about being chased by dogs. He happily shows the lollipops he bought for Zhao Zhao, chatting away and asking why she texted so much. But seeing the two elders in the room, Jiangdu freezes in place. He swallows dryly, his throat tightening. He quickly hides the lollipop stick in his pocket. Forcing a smile, he explains he was chased by dogs and ran wildly, dizzy now, saying it's all a misunderstanding. Tun Guang waves it off, telling him to stop babbling and sit down since it's rare for the family to dine together. He laughs, saying a young man who never fights isn't truly young. Captain Liu joins in, recalling he too once fought over girls, and mentions seeing Jiangdu with a girl in a dress. Zhao Zhao helps by reminding him it was Du Zhou Ni, making him recall and praise the girl as gentle and graceful, joking he'd risk it all for her if he were young again. He raises his cup, toasting Jiangdu's future success. Jiangdu holds back a laugh, seeing Zhao Zhao blush, thinking the two old men sure love to tease. Tun Guang reminds him to offer a drink. Sweating, Jiangdu hurriedly raises his glass, feeling cornered by their teasing. He downs a glass of soda instead of wine. Captain Liu smiles knowingly, saying, "Let the kid enjoy his moment." Jiangdu cheerfully invites him to eat. Praising Zhao Zhao's rare cooking, Captain Liu agrees. Suddenly, Jiangdu teases that the captain must often enjoy Zhao Zhao's cooking at home, hence her skill. The remark makes Captain Liu freeze, momentarily speechless. He glances at his daughter, scolding that she always orders takeout at home but cooks diligently for Jiangdu every day. Jiangdu feels smug, thinking he's finally turned the tables. The meal is filled with laughter and a joyful atmosphere. Jiangdu raises his glass, politely wishing Captain Liu good health. Tun Guang lifts his cup too, saying, "Your uncle toasts you as well." After dinner, the uncle and nephew see Captain Liu and his daughter off. Zhao Zhao waves goodbye, promising to meet tomorrow. While cleaning up, Jiangdu asks if Tun Guang wants soda. He shakes his head. He sits down, his expression suddenly stern. Hongdu keeps drinking casually, noticing nothing strange. Tunguang stays silent for a long moment, eyes heavy. Then he speaks in a deep tone, asking Jiangdu something. The sudden question, "You've awakened your power, haven't you?" Jiangdu freezes completely. He tries to deflect, pretending not to understand. Awakened what? Tunguang's tone hardens. He says 20 years as a night patroller taught him to read wounds, demanding the truth. Realizing he can't hide it, Jiangdu sighs in defeat. He quietly admits about half a month ago, prompting another question about how it happened. Irritated, he snaps, "Are you interrogating me, uncle?" Tunguang lights a cigarette, speaking gently. "Relax, just tell me." He replies vaguely, saying he's not sure one day the power just erupted on its own. The man is astonished. Spontaneous awakening is extremely rare, only a few cases per year. Jiangdu calmly claims it must be due to his special talent. But when he turns, he sees the grave faces of Tunguang and Uncle Li. He shudders, guessing that Julie just used her ability. The man stays silent for a long while. Then he slowly says that anyone with extraordinary potential must take the combat test unless their will is too weak. Jiangdu no DS, saying he was told already. Tunguang gently scolds that even the girl knows. He says the Night Patrol Bureau is stressful, but offers to get Jiangdu in through the back door, no exam, just continued study. Jiangdu is stunned, wondering how such a serious matter could be handled so easily. The man smokes, saying Jiangdu can choose any school, even art, surprising him at how well connected his uncle is. Jiangdu jokes, asking if he can skip school and just get the diploma. Tunguang slaps him, calling him delusional. He advises going to college first, promising to arrange a stable life with Jiao Jiao later. But Jiangdu suddenly grows serious and calls out to his uncle. Sensing something, the man stares intently at him. As expected, Jiangdu declares he wants to become a superhuman. Tunguang shouts loudly, absolutely forbidding it, ordering him to obey. After yelling, he realizes he overreacted. He stands frozen, still pointing, unsure what to say next. Jiangdu firmly says if his uncle helps him cheat, he'll report it to the Night Patrol Bureau. Tunhyang is stunned, unable to believe what he just heard. He looks at his nephew with stern eyes. He warns that the superhuman world is far more dangerous than imagined, urging him to study and let his uncle handle things. Jiangdu replies resolutely that danger exists everywhere, and his uncle can't protect him forever. They fall into heavy silence. Finally, Tunguang sighs and agrees, saying if he regrets it, he can still return before third year. As he prepares to leave, Jiangdu jokes not to take shortcuts or he'll get caught. The man snaps it's fine, then leaves. Jiangdu calls out for him to stop. He asks whether a dead person, whose power has faded, could still turn into an anomaly. After that, the man's gaze turns cold and sharp. He explains that unusual powers or contact with foreign entities can indeed cause the situation described. He asks the reason for the question, but Jiangdu just scratches his head, saying he's curious. Before leaving, the man advises choosing the martial path since hell face such things eventually. He tells him to rest more and avoid trouble. Jiangdu quickly agrees just to end it. Suddenly, he turns back to remind him that the exam will be held soon after the new year, startling him. He orders careful preparation, and Jiangdu sincerely agrees. That night, on her small channel, the girl sees a new upload from the one she follows and feels delighted. But in the comments, many accuse him of staging fake anomaly fights for views. She thinks she predicted this and is sick of such cheap show-off trends. Xiaodi angrily defends him, cursing the jealous slanderers. She snaps back at the antis, saying their ignorance makes them shout baseless accusations. Even so, a small doubt lingers in her heart. She mutters sadly, wondering if Dukaka really faked it. She prays the man won't have to post an apology video later. But the top comment declares if you don't hunt, you'll be hunted. Xiaodi freezes as she replays the footage, shocked by what she sees. She instinctively feels she herself appeared in that video. Suddenly, the footage shows the character leaping off a rooftop. The chaotic scene makes her doubt her own eyes. She clearly recognizes the person diving straight down from above. She can only watch in silence, too terrified to scream. Only when she feels safe again does she reopen her eyes. It turns out he used silk threads to swing across rooftops, recording the skill. Xiaodi grows even more fascinated, convinced he truly possesses supernatural power. The next scene shows a shadowy figure rushing toward him. That shadow kicks hard, making him slip, and she sees it from the victim's point of view. The strange being's form appears clearly on screen, proving it's not fake. Jang-do swings his arm, firing silk threads like a web to counterattack. Thanks to that, he finds an opening to break free from restraint. Xiaodi watches through the lens, unable to look away, utterly captivated. Through the small camera, she witnesses every close-up detail. Diandu kicks the strange creature away. Even after being countered, he endures and keeps fighting. She feels as if she's inside a supernatural battle against alien beings too real to be fake. At that moment, he flips aside, dodging the anomaly's strike swiftly. The reaction stuns the monster, unable to keep up. When Jiangdu defeats it, Xiaodi is convinced he's the assassin from Beidou. He calmly steps out from the monster's slimy corpse. Jiangdu raises his hand, absorbing its energy and residue without fear. Xiaodi wonders if his silk-shooting power came from absorbing a spider-type beast. So this time, he must be gained another new ability. After the fight, Jiangdu returns home to rest. He touches the scratch on his cheek, wincing in pain. He admits the monster there was strong, if not wounded, he might be lost. While bandaging himself, a new notification appears. It's a video from someone named Di Dao, claiming Jiangdu is a fake superhuman and exposing him. He says the anomaly was weak, beatable even by trained civilians. He mocks that if Jiangdu were truly superhuman, he wouldn't pick weak foes. Jiangdu angrily shuts the video off at once. He curses in frustration, feeling haunted by that man. Jiangdu slumps into his chair, closing his eyes in exhaustion. He thinks his current power is still too weak, barely enough for a low-tier beast. He must grow stronger. Strong enough that no one would ever doubt his true ability. With arms crossed, he reflects that he's still not there yet, but has gained much combat experience. He concludes that shadow points act not only as experience, but also as energy consumption. Each skill uses different amounts. Shadow Silk costs 3, Shadow Sync costs 1, while Hunt and Mark vary by level. He watches the shimmering energy gathering in his palm. Waving his hand, Jiangdu realizes the shadow form cost depends on environment. Darker areas save energy, brighter ones waste more. He recalls the aptitude test is approaching. Jiangdu leisurely steps onto the balcony. Gazing at the night sky, he calculates that superhuman talents usually range from 1 to 3 shadow points, and even without increase, he's already fearsome. However, gifted people attract attention, showing off too much invites powerful eyes, so caution is key. He boasts modestly, confident that with Uncle Liss backing, no one would dare touch him. His laughter echoes down to the apartment below. Jiangdu jokes that the old man downstairs just has to endure his antics again. The next morning, he still has to report for duty at the center as scheduled. Next to him, Bao Qiang sips soda while waiting. Jiangdu frowns at 2 girls shopping there over an hour late. Bao Qiang lightly warns not to mess around during the new year or bad luck might strike. He grumbles that he's not joking, he'd rather die than sit still. That makes Bao Qiang uneasy, asking if he's being too extreme. Jiangdu quickly changes his words, saying the girls have already left. The 2 girls start discussing what to eat for lunch. One suggests salad as a light option. They fail to notice something unusual approaching. He jokes about taking them to a cheap restaurant that suits students' tastes. Eventually, the group enters the barbecue place Jiangdu recommended. Zhao Zhao looks excited since the food fits her taste, while Xiao Xiao tries not to laugh. Jiangdu explains he wants normal food to recover from injuries. She's surprised he orders only simple dishes, thinking he'd pick something else. But in fact, he orders plenty, 1 serving of each, asking for big, fresh shrimp. The waiter quickly serves the dishes, inviting them to eat. Zhao Zhao anxiously urges him to eat, but he politely refuses. While everyone's eating, he receives a new notification. It announces the martial exam moved up. Tests from Feb 1720. Special training starts Feb 25. Xiao Xiao also sees the schedule and is shocked by the earlier mandatory test. Bao Qiang worries since there's still the aptitude check after New Year, feeling stressed. Jiangdu reassures him, saying he surely won't fail the selection. He reveals that as a kid, he was once followed by a minor parasitic anomaly. When that parasite was killed, he also fell ill and was left with trauma. Jiangdu boasts he'd have fought back, making Zhao Zhao scold him for being hot-headed. They explain avoidance is a natural instinct, like an ostrich burying its head. Even if they seem fine, the mental scar from that anomaly still lingers. The meal's mood turns heavy with all the talk about anomalies. Everyone loses their appetite thinking about the threat they pose. Noticing the tense atmosphere, Jang-do panics slightly. He raises his cup, urging them to lighten up and make a toast. Just then, a piercing alarm rings out. Everyone jumps up from their seats in fear. Jiao Jiao turns pale, recognizing it as a contamination alert. An anomaly has infiltrated the shopping center. Loudspeakers blare warnings across the area. The crowd starts screaming, urging one another to flee. The entire place erupts in chaos as people push and shove to escape. Screams echo non-stop, the panic uncontrollable. Bao Qiang trembles, overwhelmed by the packed crowd. Xiao Xiao also shakes in fear. Jiao Jiao tries to calm everyone, saying they'll get out soon. But Zhang De's firm voice cuts through, ordering them to hide. Before anyone notices, he's already smashed through a wall. His bold move even startles Jiao Jiao. Zhang shouts for his friends to run immediately. As they help Bao Qiang, he scans for a safe direction. A man running by yells that the anomaly is nearby. In front of them looms a huge monster with scythe-like arms. Zhang grits his teeth, realizing attacking now would expose him. He grabs Jiao Jiao's hand and pulls her away from the area. The four squeeze through the crowd, seeking an escape route. Jiao Jiao analyzed that the center should have been guarded. How did it get in? Zhang De replied urgently that talking was useless now. They must escape before it rampages. He pointed toward the stairs, urging them to go up. But the ground suddenly shook violently. Zhang Du warned the floor was collapsing and told everyone to hold on tight. The group fell into a sinkhole, screams echoing everywhere. Cries for help echoed amid the thick dust. Covered in dust, Jiangdu felt pain all over his body. He worriedly asked if anyone was hurt. Jiao Qiao and Xiao Qiao had only minor scratches and could still move. Bao Qiang groaned in pain, his leg trapped under a rock. The group panicked and rushed to help him. Zhangdu bent down, calming him, saying he would lift the rock slowly. He exerted all his strength to raise the heavy stone. When the rock was lifted, blood had soaked through his pants. The deep wound terrified everyone. Jiangda tossed the rock aside and cleared some space. Jiao Jiao took a white medicine box from her bag. She handed Bao Qiang a pill, telling him to chew it to ease the pain. He bit down on it and, grimacing, asked why it was so dark here. Jojo frowned, saying she'd never seen anything this strange. Zhangdu placed his hand on the ground to sense the surroundings. He opened his eyes wide, realizing the floor was still part of the mall they hadn't escaped. Suddenly, black smoke rose and wrapped around his hand. Zhangdu frowned. The sensation felt oddly familiar. He realized the entire floor had been dragged into a shadow dimension. More people fell from above, crushed by debris, their screams filling the air. Zhangdu looked around anxiously, too many trapped, no exits or help in sight. He told his friends that if they delayed, the mutants and pollution would kill everyone. He concluded they must leave immediately. Zhangdu asked Jiao Jiao about the watch Uncle Lu had given her. She suddenly remembered and quickly felt her wrist. It was still there. Bao Qiang and Xiao Xiao rejoiced as she pressed the emergency button. Jiao Jiao explained the watch could send a distress signal. The night patrol would come soon. Xiao Xiao cheered, believing rescue was near. Jiangdu stayed silent, saying they might not arrive in time, but at least the watch could block pollution. He warned everyone to stay alert. The mutants could appear any time. Sure enough, massive black shadows emerged in the fog. Everyone trembled as the monsters charged toward them. Zhangdao stared coldly and muttered, "So they've come." The ground beneath them suddenly quaked. Jiangdu broke into a sweat, bracing for battle. A giant object crashed down, dust billowing sky-high. Jiao Jiao coughed violently, lowering her head in exhaustion. She slumped to the ground, weakly calling her friends' names. Xiao Xiao immediately hugged her, reassuring she was fine. Bao Qiang's weak voice came from the rubble, saying he couldn't see anyone, while Xiao Xiao kept shouting Zhangdu's name in panic. She suddenly noticed something and shouted for Jiao Jiao to look. Xiao Xiao pointed at a deep pit, suspecting Zhangdu had fallen in. Elsewhere, Xiao Di, covered in wounds, painfully opened her eyes. She struggled to stand amid the rubble, groaning in pain. With torn clothes and blood all over, she muttered, asking what just happened. Fuzzy memories returned. She recalled walking in the mall with Xiao Ya. Then the alarm blared, and they fled in panic with the crowd. Remembering her friend, she screamed Xiao Ya's name among the debris. Her hand accidentally touched a strange cold liquid. Turning around, she froze. It was a crushed human body, unrecognizable. Xiaodi trembled, calling her friend's name in despair. A giant mutant appeared behind her, its shadow engulfing the space. She turned, tears streaming as the monster advanced. The mutant lunged and she thought, "I'm going to die." She wept bitterly, realizing a horror movie had become real. In despair, she forced a laugh, saying if this were a movie, a hero would appear, but not in real life. She shut her eyes, accepting death, convinced heroes didn't exist. At that moment, a slash of light cut through the darkness swiftly. Blood splattered, bright red drops staining the ruins. A figure stood before her, firm and imposing like a steel wall. Xiaodi trembled, opening her eyes in disbelief. The man blocked the mutant's direct attack. Jiangdu effortlessly defeated the giant monster with a single motion. She gasped, stammering, You're... The system announced, Shadow Tide form activated predator power boosts damage and agility. Under Xiaodi's astonished gaze, Jiangdu leaped high. He poured all his strength into a strike from above. The powerful kick sent the mutant flying. It strained to stand, screeching in pain. Harsh breaths and furious roars echoed through the dark. Xiaodi screamed in shock and excitement, "No way! Duge is really the Beidou assassin!" Jiangdu froze, confused by her reaction. She rushed over, babbling, "I'm your biggest fan. I've seen all your videos. You're so handsome. Kiss me," he stammered. Miss, your tights are torn." She blushed and scolded. "Where are you looking, Duge?" He hurriedly explained he was just pointing it out. She suddenly teased, half joking, "If you like, I can change into a new pair for you to see." Jiangdu grew flustered, his eyes unconsciously lowering as he swallowed hard. He asked blankly, "Really? Torn black tights are fine, too?" She laughed. "Not just torn tights, even shredded chicken if you want." The ignored mutant roared furiously to draw their attention back. Jiangdu sighed and said, "All right, enough talk, let's finish it." He lowered his stance, eyes cold, declaring, "The hunt begins." The mutant searched for its foe when an energy thread lashed it from behind. He used spider silk to lift the enemy into the air. The mutant's claws grazed past him. He twisted and landed lightly in front of it. Watching it writhe, Jiangdu regretted the strike wasn't lethal enough. Not giving it time to recover, he charged again. He quickly noticed the mutant preparing to counterattack. Jiangdu raised his arm to block the fierce blow. The enemy's strength made him pant, sweat dripping down his brow. Two more mutants appeared, grinning wickedly as they approached. Jiangdu licked the blood from his claw, realizing this fight was tougher than expected. Xiaodi shouted encouragement, promising a reward if he won. His fighting spirit reignited, body surging with power. As the mutant lunged, Jiangdu clenched his fists, ready to face it. He leapt aside, dodging the heavy punch. Another mutant attacked from behind, catching him off guard. He unleashed an energy blast straight at it. The mutant was restrained, unable to resist. Jiangdu swung his arm, tearing open space with raw force. Taking the chance, he rushed in and killed the foe instantly. He smirked, taunting that they couldn't kill him easily. But as he relaxed, he was ambushed from behind. The surprise hit made Jiangdu spit blood and stagger. He flipped back, keeping a safe distance. Holding his wounded arm, he realized they were coordinating attacks. Deciding to isolate one, Jiangdu fired a black energy thread to lure it. The mutant tilted its head, dodging his trap. Jiangdu froze, chilled by how it read his intent. All three mutants charged at once. They attacked from every direction, leaving him no room to dodge. Jiangdu struggled to defend, furious he couldn't retreat. Blow after blow landed, his blood running low danger closing in. He could only defend within their relentless onslaught. Thinking fast, he planned to feign weakness to bait them. A strike to his back made him lose more blood instantly. Jiangdu turned, eyes glowing as he activated tracking vision. The mutant hit by it froze in fear, momentarily paralyzed. At the 8th second, the mutant was bound tightly by energy threads. 2 seconds later, Jiangdu gripped the cord as the others rushed in. At the 12th second, he whipped the line, flinging all enemies away. Jiangdu sprang up, using a powerful kick to propel himself high. At the 22nd second, he slashed repeatedly, draining their blood. By the 26th second, massive energy gathered in his palm. At the 30th second, he unleashed a finishing blow, annihilating them all. All sound vanished, and silence fell over the space. Beneath Zhang Du's feet, the mutants turned to dust. The system window opened. Ji-Sun activated shadow form enhanced, consumption reduced, absorption and regeneration doubled. The wound on Zhang Du's back slowly healed. He raised his hand in defiance, challenging the two remaining foes. The two mutants began trembling before his overwhelming aura. Zhang Du mocked them for suddenly turning cowardly. Without waiting, he charged forward to attack. Suddenly, a beam of light shone down onto the battlefield. He was shocked to see light appear inside the shadow dimension. A strange urge pushed him to move closer. The two mutants instantly lunged toward the light. They even fought each other to reach it first. The light source was the eternal flame, symbol of dispelling darkness held by Kan-An. He prepared to unleash a skill against the mutants. But Zhang Du froze, realizing the attack was aimed at him. He panicked, shouting that he was an ally. At that moment, another mutant crept toward Kan-An. He instantly redirected his strike, killing the mutant in a flash. Zhang Du felt a chill. If that blow hit him, he'd be done for. After the battle, he shook hands with the night patrol, thanking them for arriving in time. Zhang Du pointed at Xiao Di, asking them to take care of her, but she protested, reminding him of his promise to take her home. He laughed, saying he was just joking. He was a night patrol officer. Duty came first. After handing Xiao Di over, he vanished, leaving her calling after him in confusion. Kan-An frowned, asking about Zhang Du's identity. A subordinate replied he was a recently popular blogger with shadow-type power, level 1. That explanation only deepened Kan-An's suspicion. He knew the flame was in his own hand. No one else should possess shadow energy, and disappearing before witnesses wasn't something a level 1 could do. Seeing Xiao Di resist, Kan-An ordered her to be taken back. He also commanded a full investigation into the man named Du. Zhao Zhao searched the corpses with a flashlight, calling Zhang Du's name anxiously. She trembled as she stepped forward, repeatedly shouting for him. Seeing blood everywhere, she feared he might be dead. Suddenly, an arm rose from the rubble. He called out that he was there. Zhang Du was pinned under a large rock, gasping and saying his chest hurt. She rushed over to move the rock, but he urged her to pull quickly while she panicked about hurting him. To her surprise, Zhao Zhao lifted him effortlessly with one hand. She pointed at the spot, saying nothing had been pressing on him at all. Zhang Du laughed awkwardly, claiming fear had paralyzed him temporarily. She eyed his back wound in concern, while he pretended to be fine, cursing inwardly that a mutant had cut him, not the rock. Remembering something, he asked about Xiao Xiao and Bao Qiang. Zhao Zhao joyfully said the night patrol had rescued them and taken them away. Zhang Du was touched, knowing she stayed just to find him. She blushed, saying she couldn't just leave him behind. He stared silently at her flushed face. Overcome with emotion, he softly called her name. Unable to resist, Zhang Du suddenly hugged her tightly. The warmth made Zhao Zhao's face turn crimson, her heart pounding wildly. She, both shy and annoyed, knocked his head hard while he teased her, saying the mutant siege had scared him half to death. He continued acting spoiled, asking for another hug, making Zhao Zhao yell for him to let go. Suddenly, a voice broke the atmosphere. Zhu Shu shyly said she came after hearing noise to check if they were all right. Zhao Zhao pushed Zhang Du away, stammering it was nothing, while he complained. Zhui Shui sighed and told them both to leave with her. Zhang Du replied loudly, "All right," earning a puzzled glare from Zhao Zhao. He forced a smile, secretly regretting forgetting to absorb the mutants for valuable shadow points. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the Night Patrol Bureau's window, lighting the quiet room. The only sound was the clinking of a cup, breaking the silence. The heavy cuffs had just been removed, and sitting opposite was Zhang Du. The woman with a pen studied the file intently while he sat upright, expression cold. Li Ai started the recorder, asking if he was a college student. Zhang Du nodded. Her tone turned serious, saying the incident had major impact, so he must undergo a 1-month psychological treatment. This woman, Li Ai, was a member of the Night Patrol Sharp and Alluring. She added that his combat test results would be affected during therapy. Sweating, Zhang Du pleaded that he was mentally fine and asked to skip it. Li Ai reviewed the file, firmly rejecting him, saying mutant pollution was dangerous and therapy mandatory. He panicked, worried the treatment would overlap with his upcoming martial exam. She smiled, taking a paper from the file, saying he could apply for an early test. Jiangdu blinked in surprise. Early test? She placed the paper on the desk, asking him to contact his guardian for a signature. Seeing his hesitation, she explained that the early test would be held at the Bureau, using identical procedures and equipment for fairness and safety. He looked a bit down, saying his guardian was his uncle who also worked at the night patrol. Li calmly asked for his uncle's position and department. He scratched his head, replying that his uncle worked in Central Division 1, just an office clerk. When she heard the name Li Tuanguang, she suddenly stood up, voice trembling. Li repeated each word, confirming, Li with the wood radical, Tuan with 3 water dots, Guang as in light, correct? Jiangdu was confused, not knowing why she was so shaken. She pressed her hands on the table, asking urgently, Are you sure he's just a clerk? He stammered that he wasn't sure. He then panicked, fearing his uncle was under investigation or demoted. Li quickly waved her hand to calm him, saying it wasn't that, then asked what report he meant. She swiftly packed the documents and said firmly, Enough. He'll take you to meet him now. Come with me. Li led Jiangdu to the grand main hall of the Night Watch Bureau. It was the central hub for weapons, human, and future tech research of the Bureau. He widened his eyes at the advanced equipment, amazed by the headquarters scale. Suddenly, he overheard 2 staff whispering, Has not part of the Night Watch Bureau. We checked the records, no one named Du. Jiangdu froze, his eyes darting around as unease grew inside him. Li noticed his strange look and turned back to ask what was wrong. He scratched his head with a nervous smile, saying he was just tense since it was his first time there, though he knew they'd begun investigating him. Li gently opened a door, telling him to rest inside while she fetched Commander Li. As he stepped in, Jiangdu was shocked to see Zhao Zhao and Xiao Xiao inside. Zhao Zhao slammed the table, standing up angrily. So you like that assassin Du guy now? Xiaodi put her hands on her hips and smiled. Of course, he saved me. Jiangdu froze at seeing Xiao Di there, inwardly groaning at the coincidence. Zhao Zhao motioned for him to sit, then turned to gossip. Then what happened? What did Du do next? Xiao Di gestured excitedly, describing how Jiangdu fought 10 mutants and slew them in seconds. When the mutants fell and the night patrol arrived, Du Ge vanished like a ghost. Jiangdu could only smile stiffly, thinking she was exaggerating. Forced to smile, his gaze unconsciously drifted to Xiao Di's pale legs, and he swallowed hard. The torn, sheer white stockings stirred him, and he justified to himself that since they were thin fabric, it didn't count. Zhao Zhao rested her chin on her hand, puzzled. Who exactly is this Du? Doesn't sound like a night patrol agent. Xiao Di confidently said, I bet 8 out of 10 he's a student, about our age. Zhao Zhao frowned. Based on what? She flipped her hair, smiling smugly. His way of speaking, his actions, and my intuition. Plus, he stares at girls' legs without hiding it. Then she pointed straight at Jiangdu, just like this guy. Jiangdu froze, smiling awkwardly. Huh? Zhao Zhao grew furious, about to grab his head, while Jiangdu stammered, trying to defend himself. Suddenly, a large man burst into the room, startling them both. Zhao Zhao stiffened and softly said, Dad? The man, Captain Lu, rushed in, asking if she was hurt when dragged into the shadow floor. She glanced at Jiangdu, gritting her teeth. Fine, just this guy's asking for a beating. He laughed weakly and a little hungry too. Captain Lu sighed in relief, seeing her unharmed, then told both to follow him. The 3 sat around a table. Zhao Zhao asked if the matter was serious. He sternly said it was the first time in history a large section of reality had merged with the shadow layer. Casualties were still being counted, but it didn't concern them directly. He lit a cigarette, reminding them both they'd undergo early aptitude testing due to exposure. Zhao Zhao coughed pointedly, making him pause and awkwardly stub it out. He explained seriously that the test had 2 parts, ability and willpower. The first involved awakening power participants would face mild contamination to trigger latent abilities, mainly for specialization assessment. Then came the willpower test, the part invisible to the eye. That was the true factor deciding who could become superhuman. Jiangdu asked, So, a stronger will means higher success? Captain Lu shook his head. Not necessarily. Some endure torture yet remain average, while others carefree by nature possess extraordinary willpower levels. He added that willpower is not only about enduring pain, but also about virtue, resisting evil thoughts, and immunity to corruption, a comprehensive standard. Jiangdu raised his hand and asked, "Does one's worldview affect it?" He frowned. "Worldview? Why ask that?" Zhao Zhao interrupted mockingly, like someone who only thinks about girls' legs. Jiangdu blushed. "You're still mad about that?" Uncle Lu sneered and said that a righteous worldview helps, but not much. However, if one's mind is twisted and full of negativity, their willpower score will be extremely low. Shonda wondered, why is that? His eyes grew serious. Because evil thoughts drag people into the abyss, negative emotions are a kind of pollution. If accumulated for too long, it corrodes deeper than mutant contamination. That's why he advised releasing emotions in time or repression would lead to collapse. Jiangdu rested his chin, pondering, do everyday dark feelings count? Then muttered, "No, I'll go to the club later to cleanse my gloomy soul by watching girls' legs." After the talk, Captain Lu told them to get ready. Someone would take them for the test soon. He added, "Oh, your Uncle Li is on a mission, so I signed the papers for him." Jiangdu nodded. "Thanks, Uncle Lu." Captain Lu reminded, "Don't push yourself, just let things flow naturally." Jiangdu waved it off. "Don't worry, Uncle Lu," while Zhao Zhao politely replied, "I understand." As soon as they left the office, they saw Xiao Di waiting. "You're back." At that time, she was the only one left on that floor. Zhao Zhao sat down and asked, "Where are the others?" Xiao Di pointed toward the elevator. "They went to do paperwork with their families." She asked again, "So your family hasn't arrived yet?" Xiao Di waved. "My parents are on a business trip. They signed remotely just now." At that moment, a voice sounded, "Everyone's here?" Bao Qiang, sitting in a wheelchair, laughed cheerfully. "It's amazing. Once they sprayed the medicine, the pain disappeared." Jiangdu asked worriedly, "You're still injured but came for the checkup. Are you okay?" Bao Qiang smiled. "It's fine. They said it won't affect the results." Xiao Xiao teased, "Don't believe him. He was crying in the corner just now." Bao Qiang jumped. "Who cried?" While the group was chatting, the door opened, and a group of people walked in. The atmosphere instantly turned serious. No one dared to speak. Jiangdu frowned, noticing everyone looked exhausted. Zhao Zhao sighed, "They just want a peaceful life." But after today, their lives will no longer be peaceful. Li Ai spoke up, "All right, everyone's here, let's get to the main part." She explained the test was divided into two parts, ability and willpower. The ability test assessed overall potential, attack power, and energy consumption, divided into 4 ranks: lower, middle, upper, and top tier. Willpower was graded by resistance to mental corruption, with 6 levels: white, green, blue, purple, red, and orange. Previously, level 1 white couldn't take the martial test, but this year it's mandatory. Supernatural evaluation depended on both ability and willpower. With strong willpower, even weak ability could rise. Conversely, high ability with weak willpower could only hold an ordinary position. If no one has questions, please follow me. The group was led to a waiting room. Jiangdu curiously looked through the transparent glass. Inside was a large room with an object covered by a white cloth in the center. The supervisor called loudly, "Xiao Xiao." She startled and replied, "Here!" Tunming beside her gently reassured, "Don't worry, just relax." Xiao Xiao nodded to her teammates. She took a deep breath. "You'll go first then." At that moment, Xiao Xiao stood in the room with Tan Ming, ready for the test. Outside, the crowd silently watched. The cloth lifted, revealing a stone radiating strong energy. Tan Ming held the cloth and signaled to begin. The door light still showed green. Suddenly, the light turned red. The onlookers whispered, suspecting it was a willpower test. Jiangdu thought he was used to darkness, so he wasn't worried. He noticed the other person's leg was tied to a glowing stone. It felt like he was being pressured by a dark crystal. A bright light burst from where Vina stood. It dazzled everyone outside. Xiao Xiao came out, and Zhao Zhao with Bao Qiang asked about her result. She replied disappointedly that she had no willpower ability. Bao Qiang was surprised and teased her about her past superhuman training. The speaker called the next name, Bao Qiang. He prayed not to have any special power, while Xiao Xiao looked dejected. The test light stayed red. Bao Qiang walked out with a gloomy face. Suddenly, the supervisor announced he had passed. Xiao Xiao was stunned, unable to believe it. The two complained about fate, and Zhao Zhao advised them to accept it. The speaker called the next, Zhao Zhao. Hearing her name, she exhaled, and Zhang Du smiled as he watched. She turned back, said she'd see them later, then left. Zhao Jiao's body emitted a red aura. The light came from the stone beneath her feet. Zhang Du recalled that the color represented power level, with red being high. He realized it was level 5. When the test ended, noise filled the area. Xiao Xiao asked her about the result, and Zhao Zhao shyly answered. Zhang Du, seeing her tired, teased her, and she retorted sharply. He kept teasing, asking for a cheering kiss. She angrily shouted him away. The speaker called Zhang Du for the test. He cheerfully ran off, shouting to everyone before leaving. Only Zhao Zhao stayed behind, sighing. Her face flushed as she softly wished him success. Hangdu, touched, thanked her. Soon after, he entered the test room. The proctor asked for his identity, and he replied politely. Tan Ming checked the file, then asked about his ability. Zhang Du said he had awakened. He was surprised it happened naturally. The proctor signaled to skip the ability part and move to willpower testing. Zhang Du followed, putting on all required equipment. Instantly, cold air and strange sounds surrounded him. Tan Ming placed a hand on his shoulder, reassuring him to follow his instincts. He reminded him not to panic even if consciousness separated from his body, just keep going. Then he pushed Zhang Du forward, starting the test. He rushed ahead in a weightless state. While moving, he wondered in confusion where he was. Zhang Du fell into a warped void like twisted space. His soul plunged deep into endless darkness. Then he gently landed on water in the middle of a city. He was shocked to lose body sensation, yet remained conscious. However, the link to his body was still clearly intact. Zhang Du's soul leapt into the air, light as wind. His real body reacted joyfully in sync. Tong Bao reminded him to focus on the test. He replied he understood. Zhang Du approached the testing stone, thinking it would be easy. But soon he felt his body slowly sinking. The water rose to his nose, his breathing heavy and strained. A strange emotion disturbed his mind. His soul was dragged into a whirlpool of despair and rage. He struggled to stay conscious, resisting the influence. Suddenly, images of Tuan Guang and Uncle Li appeared behind him. The man coldly said he lacked composure and would endanger others. Zhang Du immediately denied it, realizing it was an illusion. Another voice rang out, shattering the illusion. Tuan Guang, covered in blood aura, reminded him he had no talent. He advised Zhang Du to live peacefully and avoid danger. He said true superhumans are strong because of will, not power. All the illusions pointed in one direction, calling Zhang Du's name. They questioned whether humans could always rise again. A giant aberration appeared, shattering the entire scene. Zhang Du was forced to witness his loved ones being killed. Their images dissolved into the rain, causing him pain. The illusion of Tuan Guang lit a flame with cold motion. He stated that was the fate of superhumans. He asked if Zhang Du still wanted to follow that path. Another figure appeared, telling him not to lie to himself. The voice hypnotically said he only wanted attention. Tuan Guang kept planting doubt in his mind. He compared him to many youths dreaming of heroism. He listed ordinary habits, playfulness, laziness, arrogance. He emphasized Zhang Du was just different, not superior. He was forced to face the truth. He wasn't special. Suddenly, a red flame burst in the darkness. A man in a night guard uniform emerged from the fire and smoke. He spoke of the world's dark side beyond the shadow realm. His cold voice painted the scene of a hidden, grim undercurrent. He stressed the world wasn't as beautiful as dreams. Then he vanished, the torch falling into the water, raising thick smoke. From the smoke, countless aberrations appeared, signaling disaster. Those who wish to be superhuman must be ready to face catastrophe. The voice continued, pulling him back to the first question. Do you truly deserve to become a superhuman? Zhang Du tensed, his face conflicted and afraid. His real body outside was also caught in the illusion. At that moment, Shui from the supervision team entered the room. She curiously asked how the test was going. Tongbao replied disappointedly that he was trapped in endless illusion cycles. Zhuzhe calmly said it was normal since the Dark Abyss stone was too dangerous. Only those with strong potential could endure it. They saw Jiang Du still staggering within the illusion. Tongbao sighed, assuming he had completely failed. Shikshik suddenly noticed something strange in the data. She exclaimed as the light in the illusion turned red. Tongbao quickly turned around, shocked. A red glow indeed enveloped Jiang Du's entire body. On the Dark Abyss stone, the red light grew even brighter. Tongbao was stunned, unable to believe he reached level 5 from such distance. Shuzhu excitedly asked if he could reach level 6. He replied that only 15 people across Dazhou had ever done that. Suddenly, the stone beneath Jiang Du dimmed. Tongbao grew puzzled as the brightness weakened. She checked the biomonitor and reported all readings were normal. He was even more confused since willpower should increase near the stone. But everything was weakening abnormally, leaving them baffled. Even so, Jiang Du kept moving forward. He was about to touch the Dark Abyss stone. Tongbao panicked, knowing even level 6 never dared to try. But Jiang Du actually touched it, causing golden light to erupt. The stone responded, shaking and glowing violently. In the illusion, Tuan Guang's voice told him to give up his superhuman dream. He reminded him of his family and friends. An illusion of Zhao Zhao appeared, smiling gently and reaching out her hand. The sight moved Jiang Du deeply, and he couldn't help but grasp it. He touched her hand with softened eyes. Tuan Guang's voice echoed, saying that was where he truly belonged. But then Jiang Du's eyes blazed, shouting, "Enough!" The illusion of Zhao Zhao shattered into countless light fragments. He sneered, saying such temptations were too weak. He joked that at least a whole harem might have tempted him. Jiang Du walked toward the illusion of Tuan Guang. He admitted he had once been afraid and lost. He confessed he once dreamed of heroism just to be noticed. But he realized heroes aren't born only ordinary people who stand up. It's those nameless ones who created today's peace. Jiang Du reached for the night guard, recalling he had once been protected. He grasped the man's torch as if inheriting his will. He firmly declared he wanted to stand on his own this time. He wanted to become an undying flame. The reflection made the night guard's eyes glow brighter. Jiang Du's face shone with resolve, piercing the darkness. The water in the illusion slowly calmed and became peaceful again. At the same time, in the 6th team's meeting room, they received a report. Part of floor 234 of the Central Mall had collapsed into the shadow layer, affecting over 850 people, 700 trapped, 650 rescued, and rescue efforts ongoing. A total of 30 students would be divided into groups for testing and mild anti-contamination treatment. The 6th team asked for evaluation results. The assistant reported they were ready and sent through the system. A classified document was transmitted directly to his computer. It stated the aberration type Yuling, contamination level upper rank 1. All 3 Yuling entities shared almost identical physical traits. Their bodies also bore many signs of artificial modification. It was likely they were products of human to aberration transformation. The assistant was shocked since 3 identical mutations were nearly impossible. The 6th team leader lit a cigarette to steady himself after hearing the report. He speculated that the person from Beidou had been experimented on and turned into a monster. It seemed a shadowy force had begun to move. At that moment, the testing area suddenly flared with blinding light. The 6th team leader dropped his cigarette in shock, staring in disbelief. He couldn't believe it was the superhuman testing zone. He rushed to the site, requesting permission to enter. His face was tense as he hurriedly sought clearance. He couldn't believe the light inside had surpassed orange, now turning golden, an unprecedented event. The 6th team leader pushed the door open to see what was happening. Inside, a crowd had gathered around the observation area. Tongbao saw him and reported, the one named Jiang Du, making him freeze. A cold gust suddenly swept across the 6th team leader. Then a burst of intense golden light filled the entire room. Jiang Du slowly opened his eyes, escaping the illusion. He looked around in confusion. Outside the glass, dozens of people were watching him. Afterward, the 6th team leader personally escorted him to a private room to rest. He handed Jiang Du a bottle of water, softly telling him to drink. Jiang Du thanked him. He asked about his friends. The man said they'd been moved elsewhere and didn't know yet. The sixth team leader smiled, saying Jiang Du had amazed the entire unit, exceeding level 6. He had even produced golden light, a phenomenon never seen before. Jiang Du excitedly asked if golden light was stronger than level 6. The man nodded, saying maybe, but it wasn't certain. He half-joked that Jiang Du might be taken for dissection. Jiang Du spat out his water in fright, begging him not to scare him, making the man laugh. The sixth team leader said Jiang Du wouldn't be experimented on, but his file would be submitted for special study and supervision. Jiang Du groaned, feeling the matter was being blown out of proportion. The man reassured him, saying just follow protocol and he'd guide him through. But in Jiang Du's mind, he thought, this is my chance to shine. When asked for personal details, he seriously answered, Jiang Du, 18 years old, likes reading and sports. The other candidates whispered, surprised the one emitting golden light looked so ordinary. Some suspected a machine error. Tongbao began questioning, what did you see in the illusion? In the observation room, superiors watched as Jiang Du saw the night patrol marching with torches. Inwardly, he felt bored, thinking it was all just Uncle Lu's scripted lesson, nothing exciting for the legendary golden light. When asked about his feelings, Jiang Du gave the textbook reply, moved, feeling responsibility, ready to enter the superhuman world. But halfway through, he suddenly stopped, bowing his head in silence. The sixth team leader impatiently urged him to continue. Jiang Du suddenly smiled mysteriously. He asked, Uncle Lu, your office wall has a map, right? The man paused slightly, confirming yes. Immediately, Jiang Du jumped up, kicked the chair, and threw himself into a dramatic act. He passionately declared that only 5 survival zones remained out of 10. The world was far from peaceful, and truth was always cruel. The sixth team leader froze, wondering what nonsense the kid was inventing now. Jiang Du continued his inspired performance, calling on Dajos youth to contribute and not live indifferently. Even fireflies must shine. He finished by striking a proud pose as if standing on a podium. He shouted, if no torch remains, I will be the last light. The room fell silent, awkwardness filling the air. The sixth team leader quickly tried to smooth it over, saying it was just Jiang Du's exaggeration. But unexpectedly, Tongbao teared up, while Shui praised him as a rare idealist. The reaction left the sixth team leader stunned, never expecting that dramatic act to be believed. Outside, the candidates buzzed in admiration, convinced Jiang Du's golden light symbolized unmatched genius. The senior officers nodded approvingly, clearly satisfied. Meanwhile, Jiang Du inwardly sighed, wishing the session would end so he could go for a massage. The sixth team leader decided it was enough and called to end the questioning. Jiang Du blankly asked about the announcement. He stood up, closing the computer, saying he didn't need to read the results to know. He sternly warned that this matter concerned the special training camp. Afterward, Jiang Du sat atop a tall wall, deep in thought. His brows furrowed tightly as if plotting something. He recalled the man's warning, told to stay humble but didn't listen. Now he was famous across the night patrol. Jiang Du scratched his head apologetically. The sixth team leader sighed, saying he didn't know how to explain this to old Li, who always opposed letting Jiang Du near the superhuman field. He said to just leave it be and remember to report to the special training camp on March 25th. Jiang Du still looked confused. He explained it was a place where talented individuals trained before the martial exam. He warned him never to mention today's events to anyone, not even Zhao Zhao. Back in his room, Jiang Du opened the system and saw his lifespan down to 20 days, worrying he wouldn't survive until training. He told himself he must keep hunting aberrations to extend his life. While searching for targets, a dark figure caught his eye, startling him. It was an aberration with only 27% blood left. Jiang Du immediately activated his shadow ability to chase, delighted by the easy prey. The aberration sensed danger and turned to fight back. But Jiang Du quickly cast his marking skill, locking onto it. With just 2 moves, he easily finished it off. The system described it as a heavily wounded aberration that only wanted to survive. But its fate ended there. It would never see dawn again. Though the hunt wasn't glorious, the system reported his lifespan rose to 22 days, with increases in combat and shadow points. Jiang Du felt lucky, though slightly guilty. He thought a gain's still a gain. While cleaning the aberration's corpse, an angry voice shouted, "Where the hell did you come from?" Zhongdu suddenly realized someone was chasing him. The man, covered in grime and wearing a mask, yelled about his stolen aberration. Then Jiangdu understood he had just taken someone else's kill. He looked confusedly at the corpse being almost completely absorbed. The man angrily shouted, calling Jiangdu a thief, making him ask in surprise. He raised his stick and cursed, saying Jiangdu was worse than a junk picker. Startled by the attack, Jiangdu quickly dodged. But as he approached, the man suddenly froze. Rushing forward, he stopped abruptly in front of Jiangdu. Then he calmly stepped closer, confusing Jiangdu. He removed his hood in an unpredictable move. Jiangdu looked awkwardly, wondering what he intended. The man excitedly grabbed his hand, realizing his idol hot blogger Du, and claimed to be a die-hard fan. He cheerfully asked for a photo and mentioned splitting the spoils per old rules. Jiangdu had no idea what junk picking or the old rules meant. Seeing his expression, the man misunderstood. He immediately posted accusing Jiangdu of stealing the prey, angering him. Jiangdu used his skill to pull the man closer. The man fell clumsily, dropping his phone. Jiangdu grabbed his hair, forcing him to explain. He admitted junk picking was slang for night patrol workers' unofficial mid-level rank 1 staff. Jiangdu was surprised at the income from that job. He replied each mutant corpse earned about 7,000 yen. Hearing that, Jiangdu was stunned by the high number. He was still shocked by the information. A fierce anger radiated from him. He clenched his teeth in regret, lamenting the loss of a month's income. Deng Koa said that income was worthless, no insurance or benefits, only risking lives. He admitted the job was like scavenging in the shadow realm. He suddenly noticed remnants of the mutant corpse not yet dissolved. Jiangdu curiously asked who bought the defeated mutants. Deng Koa explained they were sold to the night patrol, schools, or recycling companies via locator missions. Hearing that, Jiangdu was excited since it meant knowing mutant locations beforehand. He asked for Deng Koa's WeChat to stay in contact. Then he sent him 7,000 yuan as a share of the spoils. Deng Koa was surprised by the 7,000 yuan amount. He suggested splitting 30-70, taking only 4,900 yuan. Jiangdu smiled generously, saying he didn't take advantage of anyone. He added he wanted to discuss long-term cooperation. Hearing that, Deng Koa froze, slightly awkward from surprise. After that, they began hunting mutants together continuously. They easily defeated a cat-shaped mutant. The system displayed Blood Shadow Scheme Bug. Zheng Du's eyes flashed with killing intent as he ordered Shadow Guard. The monster was instantly defeated and fell completely. He controlled the absorption, taking only the essence to keep the body intact. Afterward, he told Deng Koa to take the body, and he gladly agreed. He felt grateful, praising Jiangdu's generosity despite doing most of the work. Jiangdu replied that Deng Koa also contributed by locating and transporting. Deng Koa honestly said Jiangdu could handle everything if he registered as non-staff personnel. Jiangdu excused himself, saying he wanted to keep his identity secret from the Night Patrol Bureau. Deng Koa admired him. Praising his skill killing 4 mutants in one day without tiring, Jiangdu confidently claimed he could slay hundreds with enough time. Yet he felt bored since his power barely grew after absorbing many mid-rank mutants. He asked Deng Koa to find some high-rank level 1 mutants to hunt. Hearing that, Deng Koa panicked, thinking Jiangdu didn't understand the danger. He warned that high-rank level 1s were vastly stronger, able to crush mid-ranks easily. Jiangdu just smiled confidently, implying he had planned ahead. His eyes gleamed with ambition for both experience and money. Late at night, Jiangdu returned to the dorm. Exhausted, he turned on the living room light. He dragged himself along, sighing in relief to be home. Zhao Zhao's voice scolded him for coming back late. She said she had waited long and even made cookies for him. Hungry, Jiangdu ate them right away without hesitation. Sitting down, he asked, "Where's Uncle Lu?" And Zhao Zhao calmly replied, "On a mission." He asked if he'd return tonight. She shook her head no. Jiangdu grinned slyly, suggesting she stay with him. Zhao Zhao punched him hard, annoyed why he still hadn't mentioned the exam. Jiangdu held his head in pain, saying he already took it. She asked about the result. He hesitated, saying probably level 3, secretly hiding that it was actually legendary gold. Zhao Zhao leaned close, pressing for details. Jiangdu nervously made up Yingdong, claiming she must have heard of it. She sighed in relief, assuming it was a sub-skill of Yinjia, safe and support-oriented without direct combat. Hearing that, Jiangdu was touched, guessing she stayed up out of worry, then asked what her power was. She smiled confidently. Calmly said she possessed Divine Soul, a branch of Spirit Mimic. That ability was rated extremely high, though weaker than Jiangdu now. She'd surpass him later. He was speechless, realizing she was bragging. He flicked her forehead, warning not to rush or shed collapse early. She immediately covered his mouth, telling him to shut his poisonous mouth. The gesture made Jiangdu blush, and the air between them turned ambiguous. He quickly changed the topic, asking what Shadow Mimic and Spirit Mimic were. Zhao Zhao frowned, unsure, only knowing they matched mutant types. She explained, Shadow Mimic linked to shadow bugs, while Spirit Mimic matched soul bugs. Killing and absorbing mutants increased power. Matching the right type boosted strength greatly. Mismatching gave weak results. Jiangdu excitedly said the Divine Soul sounded powerful, asking her to demonstrate. She awkwardly said it couldn't activate without a mutant. He winked, pointing at himself, saying she could test on him he wouldn't die. Zhao Zhao blushed, shouting that it was Soul Shock, a mental attack skill. Even so, she used it, light gathering in her palm. Shyly, she extended her hand toward Jiangdu. A trembling blue glow spread out as she flicked her finger. Jiangdu's eyes went blank, his body collapsing instantly. Zhao Zhao panicked, asking if he was okay. Jiangdu groaned, "It hurts." He asked her to massage his head, flustered. Zhao Zhao hurriedly complied. She gently placed her hand on his head, softly massaging. Blushing, she asked how to do it. Jiangdu enjoyed giving precise directions, and she obediently followed. He happily said, "That's it, go easy." Then he praised her strike. He had prepared defenses, yet still got hit unharmed. She smiled, saying all powers came from mutants, so being unique was natural, especially since True Spirit was a mental attack. Jiangdu admired her, saying she'd stand out in training camp. Zhao Zhao calmly replied she didn't like showing off like him and mentioned top fighters from other bases were coming. Hearing about strong opponents, Jiangdu felt uneasy, but Zhao Zhao reassured him that the special camp was mainly for martial students, nothing to worry about. She suddenly teased, "You like massages that much must spend tons at those volunteer clubs?" Jiangdu casually replied, "Only a few thousand." Zhao Zhao's face darkened with a sinister smile. She raised her hand, using Soul Shock, threatening to hit him again, making Jiangdu panic and run for mercy. The next night, Jiangdu returned to the old area to hunt mutants. He was surprised the high-rank mutant Deng Koa picked was one he'd faced before. Deng Koa asked if he needed help. Jiangdu firmly said he'd handle it himself. When he looked back, Jiangdu had vanished from sight. Suddenly, a beam of light struck down on the mutant's head. Jiangdu dove from above, decisively subduing the creature. He pulled out a claw drained of the monster's life force. The system announced, "Hunt successful, shadow threat enhanced. Shadow cluster gained stronger control and damage, able to fire piercing threads that explode." From afar, Deng Koa stared wide-eyed and shouted in praise. On a giant screen appeared a superhuman displaying immense power. At his feet swarmed hordes of mutants. With a single lightning strike, all were annihilated. That was a combat video shown to the trainees. Zhao Zhao, watching, was stunned it was a battle general, the strongest combat rank in Great Zhou. Captain Liu explained her Soul Shock ability was rare, among the top of the Spirit Mimic system. He handed her a USB containing training records from a battle general with the same power, telling her to keep it secret. She wondered how her father had clearance for it. He nodded, saying, "Uncle Li, an acquaintance of the general, gave it." She grew more suspicious, thinking it should have been given to Jiangdu instead. At that moment, in Tuan Guang's office, he stood by the window, face thoughtful amid cigarette smoke. On his desk lay a thick stack of reports. The file cover bore red letters, "Top Secret." The document described mutant B14256, which crashed 200 kilometers north of Beidou after the Great Catastrophe of 90, a glowing white entity floating mid-air, causing mental pollution and worship in prolonged viewers. This mutant could regenerate rapidly, had no blood, and was nearly immune to all psychic powers. That battle killed 2 sect masters, gravely injured 3 battle generals, and left hundreds of night sentries dead before it was finally sealed under top secrecy. After years of research, they found the creature couldn't be looked at directly, couldn't be described, and couldn't be killed, so it was named Divine Spirit. Elsewhere, Jiang was hiding, watching a mutant. He suddenly lunged from underground, striking the monster with lightning. But the blow didn't harm it at all. Instead, the monster countered, punching him far away. Deng Koa filmed while cheering, "Go, Brother Du!" Jiang health dropped to 66%. He wiped his mouth and stood firm again. The mutant roared and charged forward. Hanged a bit onto an item, confidently preparing to counter. When it broke, he softly said, "Explode." The mutant sensed danger, but couldn't react in time. A massive explosion erupted where it stood. The system displayed Skill Shadow Cluster creates small orbs that explode on contact. If they penetrate the target's body, the blast multiplies dramatically. Deng Koa replayed the video, excitedly saying, "Brother Du looks awesome." He eagerly said posting it online would go viral. Jiang nodded, praising his filming. Then Deng Koa busily collected the mutant's corpse. Jiang opened his status panel. Shadow points 7878. Lifespan 47 days, satisfied he had enough time before training camp. He laughed loudly, ordering Deng Koa to locate the next target. Deng Koa instantly replied, "Got it." But before they could move, a giant-eyed mutant appeared. It fired a fierce energy beam toward them. Jiang sensed abnormal danger. He swiftly pulled Deng Koa backward. While shielding him, he warily asked, "Who's there?" When the smoke cleared, a blood-red creature appeared. It was a massive eye covered in tentacles. Deng Koa screamed in terror, "Eye demon! Level 2 soul bug!" Jiang froze. It was a type of soul species. He recalled Zhao's words, spirit mimic corresponds to soul bugs. He immediately charged to attack. One thought filled his mind, don't let it activate its power. But as he rushed forward, a golden beam suddenly struck down. The light pierced straight into the mutant's eye. It screamed, writhed, then collapsed, lifeless. A foot stepped lightly on the dying creature's head. A tall figure appeared, holding a spear still embedded in the monster's skull. Jiang stared in shock at his savior. "Who are you?" But the man didn't answer, turning away immediately. Only a golden talisman fluttered down, landing in Jiang hand. Jiang blankly opened it, reading the bizarre message. It contained an ad. "Worried your potential isn't unlocked? Want success like others? Unsure what to study or work in? Come to Shuyang Corporation, certified in Yunhai," leaving him dumbfounded. The next morning, Jiang decided to investigate in person. He stood in a crowded plaza gazing up at a giant statue at the company's entrance. The location matched the address on yesterday's paper. Earlier, Deng Koa had said Shuyang was the largest pharmaceutical company in Yunhai. Becoming even a temporary employee, they're guaranteed a lifetime of comfort. Jiang wondered if the person who saved him yesterday was also from Shuyang. Deng Koa guessed yes, judging by the combat uniform. Jiang doubted it since that person killed a level 2 soul bug far beyond a normal level 1. Deng Koa laughed, saying Shuyang's drugs could boost superhumans' power. They also cooperated with the Night Patrol Bureau and the Zhao Wang organization, expanding their influence. If one wanted quick strength, Shuyang's path was the best shortcut. Jiang asked, "So will you try it?" Deng Koa smiled, saying he'd rather rely on himself. Back at the company hall, the hostess introduced the product Camlo 1928. She said it was the result of 10 years research by Dr. Beidou 30, stimulating the brain and enhancing supersensibility. Jiang crossed his arms, thinking it was just an IQ tax, doubting the drug's authenticity. The female MC eagerly invited an audience member to try it. Before she finished, Deng Koa shouted, "Me, I'll go!" Jiang could only shake his head at his excitement. He sighed helplessly. "Didn't you just say rely on yourself?" After drinking, Deng Koa's eyes glowed and his spirit surged as if charged. The MC quickly promoted, original price 8,888, now only 1,088 for early buyers. The crowd rushed and pushed to buy it. Jiang sighed in pity, thinking they were hopeless. Afterward, he wandered around the corporation's headquarters. They displayed damaged weapons, broken blades, and torn armor. Then ancient scrolls, mostly decayed with fragments remaining. On the wall hung a large photo of 4 people from a legendary squad. Beneath it read, "Dedicated to founder Shuyang." Jiangdu was shocked that the company's founder had once been a night patroller. Someone nearby confirmed it. He was part of the first pioneer patrol group. Sadly, few remembered him now. Jiangdu was startled to recognize the speaker as Captain Kan An, who once investigated his background. Kan An recounted that during the catastrophe era 50 years ago, when mutants flooded Great Zhou, Shuyang led people to safety alone. To protect them, he burned his own life, choosing to die with the monsters. That scene was so grand it stayed forever in Kan An's memory. Eventually, Shuyang exhausted his remaining life, leaving not even ashes. Fortunately, his descendants rebuilt Shuyang Corporation to carry on his ideals. Kan An smiled, saying Jiangdu and Lord Zhao were quite alike. Jiangdu pointed at himself in confusion. "Me?" He nodded, recalling Jiangdu's words at the Night Patrol Bureau. "I want to be the only light in the darkness." Jiangdu scratched his head awkwardly, thinking he was just joking, yet the man took it seriously. Kan An looked admiring, calling him worthy as the descendant of General Li, leaving Jiangdu stunned. He asked in surprise, "General Li? You mean Li Tuanguang?" Jiangdu recalled the man's clumsy actions, exclaiming, "What? As a battle general?" He gaped so wide he could swallow an egg, horrified that the man was actually the strongest in Great Zhou. Kan An scratched his head. "He never told you?" Jiangdu replied, "No. I thought he was just an office clerk," and Kan An explained he held huge authority despite his civil post. Jiangdu clutched his head, realizing why the man could pull strings to get him into school. He was truly a big shot. Kan An nodded, saying General Li hid his identity to temper him, then introduced himself as Song Kan An, a training officer for the upcoming special camp. He whispered, "Do your best. I value you highly. I'll personally train you there." Then he left, leaving Jiangdu standing blankly, confused. Jiangdu felt uneasy. Strict training sounded anything but pleasant. Suddenly, strange energy emanated from the nearby painting. Jiangdu tensed and called out, "Who's there?" But when he looked again, only the still painting remained. All at once, a giant mutant burst out of the painting, roaring fiercely. Jiangdu immediately chased after it, refusing to let it escape. When he saw it clearly, he froze. It was a wraith, something that shouldn't appear here. He pursued it all the way to the emergency exit. While running, he wondered how it had entered despite the heavy security. But the mutant was so fast, he had to give his all not to lose it. At that moment, the system warned, "This creature is a shadow-type mutant, dwelling in the abyss, only active in darkness, extremely dangerous, avoid direct combat." He realized it was the same wraith he had once killed, meaning the guidebook had already detected anomalies. Even so, Jiangdu stubbornly kept chasing. He suspected this was linked to the recent surge of mutant sightings. Reaching a narrow alley, Jiangdu stopped in shock. The corridor ahead was pitch black and empty, no trace of the mutant. He recognized the place as Shuyang Corporation's basement, but was puzzled by its emptiness. A voice suddenly called, "Number 9, return," startling him. He turned around but saw no one nearby. He guessed the speaker had gone below, wondering about the company's plot. Jiangdu immediately activated his shapeshift ability to hide. He crept through the narrow underground passages. Strange noises echoed, putting him on high alert. In front of him stood rows of glass tanks filled with bizarre creatures. He was horrified upon realizing what they were. They were all mutants, the very things Shuyang Corporation was researching. Jiangdu hid in a dark corner to eavesdrop. 2 people appeared. One was the CEO discussing raising wraiths and controlling blood species. The younger one asked if Dr. Wu had any solutions. Dr. Wu said mutants were extremely hard to control, and using blood species for experiments was dangerous. Tian Min questioned the blood species' effectiveness, but the doctor denied any chance of taming them that way. He insisted their goal was to control mutants to aid the night sentries. To achieve that, they needed to intervene with the 4 original species. The spirit species had actually evolved from the soul species. Jiangdu broke into a sweat watching the monster inside the fluid tank. Dr. Wu greeted the creature with fascination. The mutant in the tank opened its mouth and growled softly in response. Tianmin panicked, but Dr. Wu calmly told him to keep recording. He asked the creature about its body condition and the implanted eyes. Number 9 raised its claws to respond. It tapped the tank 3 times as a signal. Dr. Wu praised it, then ordered the cloning of Number 9 to stage mutant battles. He told them to give Number 9 a soul stone, and Tianmin immediately obeyed. Jiangdu felt a chill, suspecting the mutant had sensed him. This mutant was unlike the previous wraith it didn't attack, but could back up its own data. He noticed it seemed to possess independent awareness. Tianmin worried that continuing the experiment might cause it to go out of control. Dr. Wu admitted the risk, but believed it manageable. Tianmin suggested a more certain approach, surprising Dr. Wu. He coldly mentioned swapping souls between humans and mutants. Dr. Wu furiously grabbed his collar, shouting at the inhuman idea. Tianmin feigned apology, but the doctor strictly forbade further mention of it. Suddenly, Dr. Wu coughed up blood, eyes wide in horror. A knife was buried deep in his chest. Tianmin had struck him. The doctor struggled to look at him in despair. Tianmin coldly said goodbye, claiming the research was over. He revealed his true identity, a member of the fire species. A massive surge of energy gathered in his hand. His eyes turned violet, face twisted with evil. Tianmin clenched his fist, unleashing insane power. The entire room shook, debris flying everywhere. The tanks cracked open, fluid spilling out. Mutant number 9 shattered its tank and burst free. A loud alarm blared. Mutant number 035 escaped red level emergency. Researchers panicked and fled. Not only number 9, but many other mutants escaped too. Teams on lower floors also received emergency alerts. Room 035 contained dozens of dangerous mutants. Security forces were ordered in, chaos erupting everywhere. Tianmin stood above, watching the screaming crowd. His face twisted into a satisfied grin as his power exploded violently. Then he collapsed, his life force draining rapidly until it vanished. Jiangdu emerged from the ground, staring at his corpse in confusion. He wondered why the student killed his teacher only to destroy himself. Amid the chaos, Du Ling took advantage to escape. A hand reached out from the rubble, calling Jiangdu closer. It was Dr. Wu, still alive but dying. He warned Jiangdu not to call for help and barely managed to say, "fire species." Before dying completely, he confirmed Tianmin was a fire species, shocking Jiangdu. Then Dr. Wu's eyes rolled white, his life ending completely. Jiangdu desperately shook the doctor's body, demanding to know what fire species meant. He is angry at being cut off again at a crucial moment. Sensing an unusual aura, he turns around cautiously. In front of him is variant number 9, forcing him to set aside his questions. Electricity flashes on its claws. He decides to kill it first. Jiangdu charges in and swiftly takes down the enemy. 2 more variants appear immediately after. He wastes no time and slays them both. As he lands, he realizes he stepped into a pool of blood. The floor is crimson, heavy with a metallic stench. Bodies of humans and variants lie scattered around. Jiangdu is shocked they've broken into the real world. Outside, a new product showcase is still underway. From the ceiling, claws and skulls fall gruesomely. 3 variants rush at the female host at once. The crowd screams in panic, fleeing and crying for help. Deng Koa tries to calm them, urging everyone to stay together. But one variant has already targeted him. It lunges like a predator ready to kill. Suddenly, a powerful punch knocks the monster back. Jiangdu emerges from the smoke, exuding fierce energy. Deng Koa, shocked, asks how he got here. Jiangdu says to save people first. He tries to organize the crowd, but chaos reigns. Seeing someone about to be attacked, Jiangdu rushes over. He delivers a strong kick, sending the variant flying and saving the victim. The crowd watches his actions in awe. Jiangdu shouts, ordering them to stay together and watch the shadows. The crowd realizes Hezduzi, the famous online assassin. Everyone follows his lead, protecting women and children first. When things calm down briefly, Jiangdu exhales in relief. Hearing distant cries for help, he locates the source and heads upstairs. He tells Deng Koa to evacuate civilians while he checks it out. In a burning room, a woman and her daughter cry out in despair. A dark figure suddenly smashes through the locked door. The woman, thinking help arrived, calls out loudly. But upon seeing it clearly, she freezes in horror. A giant variant roars and charges at the two. The woman hugs her daughter tightly, terrified and hopeless. Before it can strike, its body is restrained mid-air. An energy strand wraps around it, flinging it away. Jiangdu appears in time, pulling the strand taut. He punches through the variant's body. Twisting his wrist, he slams it to the ground. The monster is instantly engulfed in flames and burns to ash. The woman is too emotional to even thank him. Jiangdu pats out the flames on himself, puzzled why his body still burns. He quickly reassures them that he's here to save them. The girl bursts into tears, saying, "He's scarier than the monster," her mother explains, his empowered savior. Jiangdu lifts them both, telling them to hold on tight. He breaks through the glass and flies out with them. Below, fire trucks are already in position. He lands gently, maintaining perfect balance. Firefighters promptly extinguish the flames in the building. The mother and daughter are rescued safely, still trembling with fear. The mother tearfully thanks him, the girl shyly calls him Monster Mister, and the crowd cheers upon recognizing Du Zi. Cheers erupt, praising Jiangdu nonstop. People chant and hail him as a hero. Jiangdu thinks he must hurry, his time in this world is running out, and reinforcements haven't arrived. Suddenly, a burst of golden light explodes violently inside the building. He rushes in, sweating at the chaotic sight. All the night patrol members have been subdued. He suspects the whole incident was a premeditated scheme. A glowing hand rises, gathering battle energy. Kan An appears, surrounded by 3 variants. He gathers strength to counterattack. 3 energy beams shoot out, killing all the variants. Around them, other supers are fighting fiercely. Many variants are slain, yet their corpses cover the floor. But the remaining ones are overwhelming in number. Explosions continue, leaving the whole building in ruins. Jiangdu realizes the main assault targets the Shuyang industrial zone, the real goal. He understands the situation is worse than expected, with no night patrol left to help. Opening the system panel, Jiangdu tells himself he can only rely on his own strength. He rushes back to rescue people amid the crowd's cheers. This time he saves 3 people at once, astonishing everyone. He even carries animals out, thrilling the crowd further. Kan An, on the other front, also notices Jiangdu's presence. Kan An doesn't realize it's Jiangdu, thinking he's the same mysterious assassin. Jiangdu lands, carrying an injured young man on his back. The crowd stirs, worried about the unconscious man. Some notice his severe wounds and urgently call for an ambulance. Breathless and exhausted, Jiangdu jokes about how hard it is to be a hero. Then he shakes off the fatigue and smiles in relief. Seeing the safe, cheering people, he feels all his effort was worth it. An old woman cries, asking for her little granddaughter with braided hair. Many others cry about missing children, mostly the young ones. Jiangdu frowns, puzzled why only children are disappearing. He looks up at the top floor, blazing in flames. There, a small figure hangs suspended mid-air. It's a girl caught by a variant, crying and calling for her father in despair. Jiangdu grits his teeth in anger, confused why the variants kidnap children. The phone rings, it's Zhao Zhao calling. She bluntly asks if he's at the Shuyang factory zone. Running, he's surprised she knows. Zhao Zhao urges him to hurry there. Jiangdu jokes about finishing his beef and egg meal first, making her furious. He hangs up and dashes toward the building where the children are held. Zhao Zhao can only listen in silence as the call disconnects. Jiangdu sprints at full speed, blood and energy nearly drained, knowing he might die. At that moment, a man with a loudspeaker appears at the scene. Team 6 broadcasts loudly, warning all supers at the front to stay alert. He cites Article 113 of the Superpower Law. Unauthorized individuals cannot use powers in public. He issues a final warning: failure to comply will result in forced restraint. The soldiers beside him raise their special rifles, ready to fire. Jiangdu raises his hands in surrender, thinking the night guards should handle this. But the old woman's cries for her granddaughter shake his resolve. That sight makes him grit his teeth and decide to act despite orders. He turns to Team 6 and says briefly, "Follow me." The officer is stunned, not understanding his intent. Jiangdu says nothing more and dashes toward the building. 2 soldiers aim to shoot him down, but Team 6 stops them, leaving them confused. He watches Jiangdu's back and orders, "Follow him up there." The rooftop swarms with variants moving around. Each one carries an abducted child. Jiangdu quietly tails them, suspicious of their goal. He sees them bringing the children into a strange portal. He realizes it leads straight into the shadow layer. He silently steps in, entering the dark space. Hongda wonders why the brutal bloodborne are kidnapping living humans. They act in formation like an organized army. The Shuyang group, fire species, experimental relics, all tangled in one horrific plot. Heads too deep to turn back, the only way is forward. In one corner, the trapped children cry while a variant guards them. A pebble suddenly rolls to its feet. It looks around but sees no one. The silence grows so tense that the variant becomes wary. It glances at the trembling children. Another stone flies out, making it turn repeatedly. Finding nothing, it grows increasingly nervous. A sudden instinct warns something is wrong. It realizes there are fewer children than before. Panicking, it searches but finds no trace of them. Then a noise behind makes it spin around. Jiangdu is fleeing while carrying 3 children. He smiles calmly. Guess I've been spotted. At once, the surrounding variants swarm in. But immediately, an energy net descends, binding them tight. The variants roar and thrash helplessly. Jiangdu leads the children down the stairs, telling them to hold on to each other. He quickly calls the night patrol, reporting over 10 children needing rescue. Suddenly, an explosion shatters his phone. He shields his face from sparks and burning debris. A figure steps out from the darkness. His face is twisted and deformed, voice dripping with malice. He recognizes Jiangdu and sneers. "So you're that famous online dudesy, huh?" Jiangdu stays alert, demanding to know who he is. The man flicks a snake-like tongue and mocks, "Take a guess." The man, named Shushan, waves his hand and smashes a wall apart. Jiangdu narrowly dodges, avoiding a lethal strike. He realizes the enemy manipulates thermal energy, a true superhuman imposter. Kongdo shoots a wire to the ceiling, moving tactically. He tries to draw the fight away to protect the children. But as he lands, dozens of steel rods stab down from above. He twists just in time, narrowly escaping them. Shushan laughs in approval, saying his moves match the videos. He remarks that Jiangdu is just a low-level super not worth worrying about. Jiangdu asks, "Are you from Shuyang?" Shushan smirks, "Do you really think so?" Jiangdu is almost certain he concludes the man belongs to the fire species faction. Shushan attacks instantly, warning Jiangdu to stay out of things he shouldn't know. Jiangdu tilts aside, dodging the first strike. But the attack seems sentient, looping back to chase him. Jiangdu can't react in time and is swept away by the explosion. His body flies through a cloud of dust and smoke. 2 more energy spheres shoot straight toward his position. Shushan stands still amid the blast, completely unharmed. He shakes his head in boredom, saying the fight is dull. On the roof, the terrified children watch with tears streaming. One sobs softly, "Big brother won't die, right?" As the smoke clears, the scene shocks everyone. Even Shushan frowns, unable to believe his eyes. In front of him is only empty space and shattered debris. He scans around warily, sensing something off. Jiangdu suddenly appears from the ground behind him. He leaps up, aiming for a surprise strike. A surge of shadow energy bursts out like a storm. Shushan tilts his head to dodge, but still gets a deep slash on his cheek. Jiangdu senses stop and instantly appears behind him again. His lips curl slightly, eyes gleaming with confidence. He launches a flurry of attacks, nearly overwhelming Shushan. Seeing a counter coming, Jiangdu vanishes. Shushan growls in fury, tracking his movement. "You filthy rat!" Before disappearing, Jiangdu throws a black energy orb. Shushan reacts fast, blasting it midair. Thinking he neutralized it, he freezes in surprise. From the explosion, countless thread-like energy tentacles shoot out, wrapping around him. Has forced to unleash full power to withstand the violent strikes. Licking blood from his lip, Shushan slips into the shadows, realizing Jiangdu is no easy foe. He says coldly, "But I know how to bring you down." Then he hurls another energy sphere with an odd trajectory. It curves back toward the trembling children. The leading girl can't dodge in time. She screams in despair, calling, "Big brother!" A dark figure appears in front of her. Jiangdu shields her with his own body from the massive energy blast. He grits his teeth, feeling toxins invade his body. Shushan appears behind him, saying coldly, "Got you." Jiangdu turns in horror. Shushan gathers dense energy in his palm. The blow smashes directly into Jiangdu's back. He writhes in agony as the strike pierces his organs. A second hit finishes him, knocking him to the ground. His body crashes into the rubble, blood splattering everywhere. Shushan laughs wickedly, saying there's no more shadow to hide in. He laughs maniacally while throwing brutal punches nonstop. The heavy blows pound the ground, making it quake. Jiangdu painfully realizes his shadow form is breaking apart, his skills out of control. Shushan grabs his hair and lifts him like a toy. Then he slams him down hard, cracking the floor. The shadow layer around Jiangdu shatters, revealing his true face. Shushan licks his lips, tightening his grip, eager to see who he really is. As Shushan prepares to deliver the finishing blow, stones suddenly fall from above, hitting his head. The children scream in fury, demanding he release Jiangdu and cursing Shushan. Shushan, enraged, threatens to kill them all. While he's distracted, Jiangdu has already sat up. The fading shadow form begins to reform. Jiangdu grabs Shushan, thanks the children, and declares the fight is his. He leaps up, activating the frozen shadow power. He drags Shushan into an illusion filled with countless eyes. Shushan roars, straining, eyes rolling white. He bursts with violent energy, shouting for Jiangdu to get lost. Seeing Jiangdu stagger, he smirks mockingly. But Jiangdu's shadow form recovers in time. Shushan sneers that dragging him into darkness is useless and threatens to kill the kids. Jiangdu demands to know why he controls blood spawn and kidnaps children. The man replies that pure child souls are the best materials. His eyes gleam with greed as he mentions soul seed technology. Jiangdu recalls the Shuyang experiments that studied it. Then he remembers the variants he had fought before. Shushan summons them, saying he'll show the real crowd. He orders them to attack, shouting for Jiangdu to die. The variants roar under his control. All of them charge at Jiangdu. But Jiangdu smiles mysteriously. He confidently says this is exactly what he was waiting for. Jiangdu grins in satisfaction, goal achieved. He absorbs all the variants, thanking Shushan for the great gift. The monsters become his prey. He raises his hand, commanding them to continue. With his marking skill, none can escape. All are sealed into energy cores within his hand. He consumes the energy, the system reports a stat upgrade. Shushan is horrified, unable to believe Jiangdu can absorb variants. Jiangdu ascends, merging with the massive energy flow. A storm of energy engulfs the entire area. All nearby variants are devoured by him. Shushan realizes he's made a grave mistake. He charges in, suspecting Jiangdu is an unimaginable threat. But his punch has no effect against the energy storm. Instead, he's blasted back, bones aching in pain. Shushan's eyes glow red with rage. He grits his teeth, furious that Jiangdu used his own blood spawn against him. Now Jiangdu is surrounded by an energy shell like a cocoon. Shushan trembles, stammering in disbelief. The energy converges into strands resembling neural cords. Shushan roars in anger, realizing Jiangdu has just broken through to a higher level. He immediately turns to flee, cursing yet terrified. Doubt fills his mind. Normally, one ascends only through cultivation. Jiangdu's evolution through devouring variants is something never seen before. Shushan freezes, realizing variants share a similar mechanism. Fear floods his eyes instantly. His fleeing steps suddenly stop cold. A spatial gate appears ahead. As the smoke clears, a familiar dark figure emerges. Jiangdu has now ascended to a whole new level of power. He smirks arrogantly, declaring the hunt begins. With 2 swords in hand, he approaches calmly. He inhales deeply, sensing the life force surrounding him. It feels like breaking free from chains, reaching a higher realm. Even the slightest movement of his sword hand makes the energy tremble. As his aura erupts, the world's colors shift, everything becomes vividly alive. He can even feel the fear of every living being. Jiangdu laughs in delight, saying he'll play with him. In an instant, his figure vanishes from space. Shushan panics, realizing his opponent has truly disappeared. He summons his minions, ordering vigilance and counterattack. But flashes of light streak across immediately. His variants are slain in the blink of an eye. He hastily raises an energy shield, but still gets slashed across the chest. Screaming in pain, Shushan trembles at Jiangdu's inhuman speed. Meanwhile, Jiangdu feels exhilarated, sensing he can merge even deeper into shadow. He launches relentless critical strikes, leaving Shushan defenseless. Shushan stares at his torn face, consumed by rage. He's furious at being treated like prey for Jiangdu's amusement. He screams madly, daring Jiangdu to kill him quickly. Wanting to preserve his last shred of pride, he calls for a direct duel. Zhang Du appears right behind him, coldly saying, "I'll grant your wish." But just as the blade is about to strike, something unexpected happens. He spots an object being hurled toward him. Zhang Du retreats swiftly, assuming a defensive stance. A small metal cylinder is caught on his blade. A figure steps from the darkness, asking Shushan what he's doing. He scolds Shushan for making him wait, saying the boss is growing impatient. Shushan's face lights up, recognizing the newcomer as Yongcheng, the boss's subordinate. Yongcheng smirks, saying the plan is about to start and orders Shushan to take the child away. He'll handle the rest. Shushan quickly obeys, handing the child to their side. But Zhang Du dashes in, blocking anyone from touching the children. At that moment, a brick-like projectile flies in, deflecting his sword. Yongcheng charges forward, attacking with pure physical strength. Hongdu refuses to stand still and take the hit. He dodges swiftly, evading the opponent's blow. Using the opening, he sinks into the ground like a shadow. The ring on Shushan's hand suddenly glows brightly. A surge of power turns into glowing chains, binding Zhang Du. Shushan laughs triumphantly, thinking he can't vanish this time. Yongcheng joins in, striking hard and knocking Zhang Du down. Shushan cheers his ally, ordering the rebels' execution. Suddenly, a beam of light flashes through, slicing him into 4 pieces. Shushan's eyes go vacant as he realizes his fate has come. He collapses coldly, his legs severed. The killer is Zhang Du, stopping him from touching the children. Yongcheng praises his speed, guessing he's no amateur. He asks why Zhang Du interferes in their affairs. Zhang Du roars that hell never forgive experiments on children. Yongcheng is surprised, so Zhang Du acted on his own. Zhang Du props himself up, blocking his leg with a shadow blade. He suppresses exhaustion, insisting he never claimed to be a hero. His goal is simply to act according to conscience. Yongcheng laughs mockingly, calling that righteousness amusing. He warns that saving the children will bring global catastrophe. Zhang Du is confused, not understanding the purpose behind the abductions. Yongcheng coldly explains the long war between humans and mutants. He says humanity survives only on a fragile thread of hope. He describes humans as weak, while variants embody true power. According to him, instead of clinging to futile hope, they should embrace the darkness. He urges burying hope and awaiting assimilation into their side. Their goal is to become a unified hybrid race, erasing human hope completely. Zhang Du smirks, calling them traitors disguised as saviors. Rage ignites within him. He vows to wipe them all out. Yongcheng sighs, saying arguing with him is pointless. He releases immense pressure, intending to open his eyes to the truth. Zhang Du raises his sword, ready to strike back fiercely. Yongcheng blocks the deadly slash barehanded. He counters with force, sending Zhang Du flying. Zhang Du braces against the wall, struggling to regain balance. Even with high-speed attacks, all his moves are blocked. Yongcheng clenches his fists, his aura surging. He spins and fires an energy orb with one hand. Zhang Du quickly raises his sword to block. The orb explodes, light blinding the entire sky. Yongcheng remains calm, seemingly unfazed. Meanwhile, Zhang Du is blasted into a wall by the shockwave. He spits blood, stunned by the overwhelming power. The blow prevents recovery. He wonders what kind of skill it is. Yongcheng approaches, his shadow falling over him. He darkly names the move Superhuman Art Flame Prison Slash. Zhang Du grips his sword tighter, more vigilant than ever. Yongcheng mocks him as weak and unworthy of facing the abyss. He coldly concludes, "Time to meet your god." Zhang Du smiles faintly, agreeing it should end indeed. He activates his special technique Annihilation Mark. Yongcheng is struck instantly, unable to react. Has sucked into the shadow realm Zhang Du created. In the void, he panics, begging for his life in terror. Whispers echo, exposing his buried fears. A mocking voice says he betrayed out of fear of the abyss, not to save anyone. It accuses them of never being unified hybrids as they claimed. The light from the shadow blade flares violently. Zhang Du growls, calling them cowards who only know how to flee. Yongcheng snarls, grinding his teeth and lunging to counterattack. He screams madly, striking in blind fury. Zhang Du used the move Hunting Pursuit, piercing through his opponent. His eyes widened as black blood poured out, unable to believe the outcome. Yongcheng realized the one who defeated him was just a young man. As he fell, he finally understood why the boy knew no fear. He smiled sadly, remembering when he was once that proud. Regret flashed in his eyes before they dimmed completely. He admitted he had once been arrogant, but was broken by the abyss. Yongcheng warned that Zhangdu would also be devoured by the darkness. Zhangdu frowned, muttering about what they truly were. Yongcheng's body disintegrated, turning into a small flame and ember seed. Outside, news reports covered the fire at the Shuyang Corporation. Reporter Shui described the fierce blaze and traces of battle between superhumans and aberrants around the building. A witness said Du Zige saved them from the fire. The reporter confirmed he had rescued many trapped people before returning to save the missing children. His whereabouts were still unknown, and people prayed for him and the children's safe return. Suddenly, someone shouted that Du Zige had come back. The crowd cheered, realizing it was truly him. Zhangdu appeared, bringing the missing children home. Facing the warm welcome, he felt a bit embarrassed. He knelt and patted the kids' heads, saying he only brought them back here. The children were moved, calling him brother and thanking him non-stop. Night watchmen arrived to help take the children home. The setting sun shone down as if sharing their joy. Zhangdu returned exhausted, finally reaching home. To his surprise, Zhao Zhao was still waiting, though it was late. Seeing him back, she burst into tears of relief. The meal she prepared remained untouched on the table. He felt both touched and guilty. Shangdo took out a broken egg, lying that he was late because he went to buy eggs. But Zhao Zhao couldn't laugh at that joke. She cried, accusing him of lying and treating her like a child. Zhangdo sighed, teasing if she thought he was dead. Zhao Zhao sulked, saying being dead would be better. But when she raised her hand, he grabbed it firmly. She was startled, shouting for him to let go. Zhangdu pulled her close, softly replying, "I won't." The warm light made the air between them hazy. He lifted Zhao Zhao's chin, teasing that she'd never tried it. She stammered, "Tried what?" he said. "Don't be afraid. Once you try, you're no longer a child." Zhao Zhao blushed, stammering in confusion. Zhangdu leaned close, whispering that he hadn't tried either. His eyes gleamed boldly as he invited her to try together. She flustered, heart racing, urging him to calm down. But Zhangdu didn't let her dodge, moving even closer. Their lips brushed in a gentle, fleeting moment. Zhao Zhao was stunned, not understanding what just happened. She panicked, pushing him away and yelling what he was doing. Zhangdu, embarrassed, said he was just thirsty and looking for water. Zhao Zhao covered her mouth, blushing, repeating thirsty. He quickly changed the subject, saying he'd reheat the food, then ran straight into the kitchen as if escaping. He put the dishes in the microwave, trying to stay calm. Meanwhile, Zhao Zhao clutched her chest, her heart racing, embarrassed yet shocked she had let it happen. He blushed, recalling he had just kissed Zhao Zhao, thinking she'd kill him for it. Remembering her soft lips, he smiled to himself. Excited, he waved his hand, rewarding himself after the battle. Worth it. Zhangdu didn't know Zhao Zhao was secretly watching him from behind. Her face showed shyness and joy as she softly scolded, "Idiot!" When the food was hot again, they sat down for a late meal together. Zhao Zhao still blushed, replaying the moment in her mind. Zhangdu pretended to be indifferent, focusing only on eating. He suddenly thought about the fight and wanted to check how much stronger he'd become. The status screen appeared. Zhangdu, Shadow type, score 105, 150. Skills include Shadow Guard, Hunter, Shadow Blade, Continuous Kill, lifespan 80 days, rated quite strong among the weak. The Shadow Search skill let him move through darkness. Shadow Blade turned his hand into a sword. Continuous Kill boosted consecutive damage but failed if he missed, also enhancing stealth and detecting enemy vitality. Zhangdu analyzed that Shadow Search was space-shifting in darkness, very useful, while Continuous Kill was powerful but demanding. He recalled that red color represented enemies in the last fight. Blue marked allies who supported him. When the battle ended, those colors faded away. White meant innocent bystanders. Suddenly he opened his eyes, glancing toward Zhao Zhao. She was startled by his look and turned away. She sternly warned, "What are you staring at? Stop thinking nonsense." Hongda wondered why he now saw pink around her, then laughed, assuming pink meant likes me. Zhao Zhao frowned, muttering, "This guy's thinking nonsense again." At that moment, a bright flash lit up outside. They both turned toward the light. They stepped onto the balcony, curious. Fireworks blossomed brilliantly across the night sky. Streaks of light burst open, painting the darkness bright. They stood in silence, sharing the rare peaceful moment. Jiangdu softly asked, "Hey, do you know anything about the Fireseed organization?" Jiao Jiao was surprised, asking where he heard that name. He was startled to realize she knew. Jiao Jiao nodded, saying she'd seen it in her father's documents mentioning Fireseed. She said they weren't fighters or researchers, but extremists both mad and contradictory. Their bodies were mutated into aberrants, and the Fireseed group was seen as traitors to humanity. Jiao Jiao said capturing one Fireseed would earn a 500,000 cash bounty from the Night Watch. Hongda froze, mouth agape at the amount. She wondered why his reaction was strange, while he only smiled awkwardly, secretly regretting the 1 million he just lost. He asked if any other strange organizations had bounties, and Jiao Jiao curtly said no. He scratched his head, embarrassed, saying he just wanted to see if he could make some money. Hearing that, Jiao Jiao grew thoughtful, recalling something. Then she said there actually was one special organization, though without any reward, the Dawn. She explained, energy flickering in her hand, that the organization was internally divided. One faction militant, the other believing humanity would lose and seeking escape from this world. Their goal was to leave the planet and find a new dawn. Jiangdu was shocked, calling it a fantasy like sci-fi movies. She replied it didn't have to rely on technology. She gave an example. Aberrants from the abyss had no science, yet could enter reality through deep rifts. If humans learned that method, the Dawn faction's idea could come true. Time passed, the spring festival ended, and everyone returned to work or school. Jiangdu realized that after reaching level 2, hunting low-level aberrants barely extended his lifespan. Some exhausting days only granted him 3 extra days to live. After the final aptitude exam, students were summoned to special training camps. Bao Kong went first, Jiangdu was last, set to depart tomorrow. But the night before departure, Tuan Guang suddenly returned from Beidou. Smiling, he said he heard Jiangdu shone with golden light during the will test and was seen as a new prospect for the night patrol. Not bad, kid. Jiangdu turned, surprised, asking why Uncle Li came back early, thinking he was still in Beidou. Tuan Guang rubbed his neck, saying work wasn't done, yet the patrol team was overloaded this year, with new troubles like someone reaching gold level in the test and a strange mist phenomenon. Jiangdu curiously asked what the mist level was and if it was stronger than him. Tuan Guang shrugged, saying no one really knew. Still, he found it odd since he had observed Jiangdu closely before and never saw any special potential. There were signs of contamination in his body, so he expected failure, yet he passed and reached level 6. Others suspected the result was wrong because he didn't seem remarkable. Jiangdu remembered meeting Song An and asked if the title war general was real. The man's face darkened, realizing he had accidentally revealed a secret. Tuan Guang couldn't hide it and confirmed it was true. Jiangdu was stunned to learn his uncle was a war general, one of the 5 strongest in Great Chu. Tuan Guang sighed, saying he had once been a war general but retired due to age. He said in his youth he was full of ambition, fighting endlessly for Great Chu. At the time, he believed wiping out all aberrants would bring peace, yet after 20 years, the war still raged on. In the end, his wife died from aberrant infection, and he lost an arm, falling from war general to cripple. At that point, Jiangdu interrupted, saying he would never abandon the superhuman path. He declared he wanted to follow his uncle's footsteps and become a war general of Great Chu. Hearing that, Tuan Guang stopped trying to dissuade him. He said someone higher up had already taken interest in Jiangdu, so he wouldn't interfere. Then he took out a pendant and told Jiangdu to keep it. When Jiangdu asked what it was, Tuan Guang answered it was a forbidden item, the Night Whisper, which lets one hear voices from the abyss when worn near the ear. It strengthens willpower but easily breeds negativity, so after each use, one must rest 3 days before wearing it again. In addition, it could trigger superhuman energy, boosting combat power temporarily but only once. Jiangdu understood that its energy came from the abyss. Tuan Guang smiled, confirming that forbidden items were all pollution crystals and came with a price. This pendant was special because its risk level depended on the user's aptitude and will. Only those with willpower above level 5 could wear it. Moreover, the pendant could choose its own master. Jiangde eagerly wanted to try wearing it. Tuanguang watched closely, but Jiangdu heard nothing. He concluded Jiangdu's will was strong enough to resist the item, told him to read more about it, and said goodbye. That night, Jiangdu quickly fell into deep sleep. Moonlight streamed through the window, shining on the pendant. The pendant suddenly activated, emitting strange energy waves. The aura spread, gradually enveloping Jiangdu's entire body. In his dream, he woke up in a strange space, confused about where he was. Everything around was shrouded in darkness. Suddenly, water spheres drifted by, each containing human figures. A girl wearing the pendant screamed, begging the whispers to stop. Jiangdu saw countless others also screaming in pain. Some went mad, their minds overtaken by power. They writhed and wailed in agony. The cries echoed, pleading, refusing to be the cursed item's master. Jiangdu was horrified to realize this was the pendant's stored memory. A gentle voice whispered, calling him master. The darkness shifted as if something was about to emerge. The scene changed to a truck carrying superhumans to the camp. Jiao Jiao yawned, exhausted from lack of sleep. Jiangdu asked about her, and she said she'd been too worried to rest. He smiled, saying he'd slept great. But deep down, he still vaguely remembered last night's dream. He guessed it might be the pendant's influence since he'd heard a strange voice. Jiangdu gently tapped Jiao Jiao's shoulder, telling her to rest on him. She reacted sharply, scolding him not to take advantage, while he laughed to reassure her. Nan Yu caught Jiangdu teasing her and glanced over. Captain Lu sighed, warning Jiao Jiao to be careful and stay away from troublemakers. She obediently agreed, making Jiangdu feel insulted as if he were the problem. The captain continued, telling them to obey the instructors at the camp. If any issue arose, contact an instructor or call her father. She blushed, saying he repeated that too often. Jiangdu patted his chest, promising to protect Jiao Jiao from bullies. Captain Lu grumbled inwardly, thinking Jiangdu himself was the biggest problem. The vehicle stopped at the station, signaling their arrival. Jiao Jiao said goodbye to her father, who reminded her to call often. Captain Lu watched them holding hands as they entered, feeling uneasy. He snorted coldly, irritated by the sight. He clenched his teeth, vowing to teach Jiangdu a lesson once they reached camp. Jiao Jiao pulled her hand back, blushing, warning Jiangdu her father might kill him. Jiangdu wasn't scared, saying they wouldn't see each other for half a year and would attend the same university, making her flustered and deny it. The candidates gathered as the train arrived, the platform buzzing with noise. Jiangdu merged into the crowd, boarding the train bound for the camp. Around him were youths his age, all full of spirit. He observed that this was a special train to the elite training camp. The broadcast announced departure time and a 20-minute non-stop route. Jiangdu marveled at the huge number of people. Jiao Jiao said it was normal since recruits came from many zones. She explained all passengers had superior aptitude and just needed training to fight low-level aberrants. Jiangdu pretended to be surprised, but felt confident he could handle even Tier 2 aberrants. Jiao Jiao warned him not to underestimate things, as talent was useless without proper training. She told him to rest, saying he'd understand once they arrived. Jiangdu replied casually, saying he was fine and didn't need concern. The train sped up, racing along the tracks toward the camp. Then it entered a pitch-black tunnel. Jiao Jiao shook his shoulder, calling him awake after noticing something odd. He rubbed his eyes, asking what was wrong. She pointed at the clock, saying it had been nearly 40 minutes, though the ride should be only 20. Jiangdu frowned, noticing it had grown dark outside. He looked out the window, seeing only thick fog surrounding them. Passengers also sensed something strange and began murmuring anxiously. One curious man reached out to touch the mist. He immediately pulled back, trembling, saying the fog felt alive. The entire carriage fell into panic and fear. Suddenly, the train braked hard, throwing everyone off balance. Screams erupted across the car in shock. The speaker announced arrival at Yunhai training camp and told passengers to disembark. Everyone looked around in confusion, seeing no instructors waiting. Amid the chaos, Jiangdu broke away from the crowd and moved forward. He was the first to step off the train, facing the unknown. Zhao Zhao saw him leave and shouted in alarm. She ran up to stop him, urging him to come back. But Zhang Du's eyes were firm, refusing to listen. His eyes glimmered with a strange black hue, his body trembling slightly. Beneath his feet were fresh streaks of blood. Zhao Zhao gasped, covering her mouth in horror. Zhang Du knelt to inspect the traces closely. He confirmed the blood was still fresh. The others panicked, guessing the camp members might have been killed, though they doubted it. Zhang Du calmly concluded that the killer was an aberrant. His words sent waves of fear through the group. He told them to alert the night watch and have someone ready to drive the train back. Zhao Zhao worriedly asked what about him. Zhang Du hesitated for a moment, looking at her. Then he smiled, saying he just needed to go to the bathroom. Zhao Zhao couldn't stop him and let him go. Fear and worry flashed across her face. She bit her lip, forcing herself to suppress her trembling. Then she resolved to follow Zhang Du. The remaining candidates were confused, not knowing what to do. They discussed how there was no phone signal and decided to leave the train too. In the end, everyone followed the direction Zhang Du had gone. No one noticed a camera above recording them. Zhang Du actually entered the restroom. After finishing, he pulled up his pants and sighed in relief. His face relaxed, clearly relieved after holding it in too long. Suddenly, Nan Yu sensed a strange aura approaching. A wolf-shaped mutant roared and lunged at Zhang Du, but it was knocked away by a stone from somewhere before reaching him. Zhang Du turned and jokingly asked if Zhao Zhao came to relieve herself too. She angrily shouted, scolding him for risking his life alone. What if a mutant killed him? How would she explain to their teacher? Zhang Du smiled calmly, telling her to relax and listen. Jojo crossed her arms, daring him to come up with another excuse. Zhang Du confidently declared that the special training session had already begun. Zhao Zhao was shocked and asked when it started. He replied it began the moment they boarded the subway. She doubted him, demanding proof. Zhang Du pointed at the mutant's corpse she had just defeated, asking her to sense its strength. She recalled that the creature was weaker than usual, not brave enough to attack a real camp. Zhang Du laughed and praised her intelligence, but Zhao Zhao remained skeptical, saying they might not have met stronger mutants yet. Zhang Du reasoned that if the real camp were under attack, the guards would have noticed and sounded an alarm. He believed this was a trick designed to create tension and panic. The scattered fresh blood was meant to stir fear in people's hearts. When under pressure, a person's true nature is revealed. Zhang Du boldly declared that he was the strongest. Zhao Zhao sighed, thinking he was just bragging. She snapped, asking if all his talk was just to show off. At that moment, a mutant suddenly appeared before them. A whole pack of creatures charged at them fiercely. Zhang Du stepped back, shouting for Zhao Zhao to shoot with her bow, but she scolded him for hiding behind her. He smiled confidently, saying if he fought, she'd have no chance to shine, making her angrier. Zhang Du pushed her forward, telling her to fight instead of talking. In the surveillance room, their battle was broadcast live, with Zhang Du casually cheering her on. The officers in the camp watched the entire scene on the big screen. By now, Zhao Zhao had defeated all the mutants that appeared. Zhang Du cheered and praised her, saying she was strong enough to take on 3 at once. She angrily hit him, calling him shameless. While he argued it was because he trusted her, she shouted back, "Trust your head!" Zhang Du grabbed her hand, calming her down. He grew serious and pointed ahead, telling her to look at the displayed map. The screen showed the only exit they could choose. Zhao Zhao asked which path he thought they should take. After observing, Zhang Du chose Gate C Shadow Field. She was shocked, saying that area simulated the shadow layer, an extremely dangerous zone, but Zhang Du replied that the most dangerous place was often the safest. He told her to follow him, promising to protect her if anything happened. At that moment, another group of freshmen ran over in panic for help. Zhang Du was about to ask what happened, but they screamed in fear first. He was surprised, thinking those elites couldn't be scared by an aberrant that easily. Zhao Zhao suddenly turned pale and shouted a warning behind Zhang Du. A giant snake-shaped aberrant Dong Shi slithered out from the darkness. Zhang Du reacted quickly, dodging the first strike. He was shocked to realize the creature was mid-tier rank 1, too dangerous for freshmen. Zhao Zhao immediately stepped forward, preparing to activate her ability. Energy gathered rapidly within her, ready to strike. The Dongshi locked onto its target and lunged like a hunting beast. Its massive jaws opened wide, aiming to swallow Jiao Jiao. Shuyang rushed in, kicked the beast away, and shouted for her to be careful. He didn't hesitate, grabbing her hand and pulling her out of danger. While the aberrant was still stunned, Zhang Du dragged Jiao Jiao and ran desperately. The ferocious Dongshi chased closely, refusing to relent. The other freshman stood frozen, gaping at the scene. Zhang Du pointed ahead, telling her to run into the emergency door. But as soon as they stepped inside, his hand that was holding Jiao Jiao suddenly grasped nothing. Zhang Du's face turned pale as he looked around in panic. He realized he was standing alone in an enclosed room. In the control room, officers grew worried seeing the aberrant about to go berserk. One suggested killing the creature immediately to ensure student safety. Kan quickly stopped them, telling them to wait. He watched closely, wanting to observe Zhang Du's actions. He said this was the chance to see the boy's true ability.